Hello, fellow obsessive viewers. This is Tiny here. Welcome to a special episode where Matt and Mike got together and they did a retrospective on one of their favorite shows, Friends. They discussed notable episodes, not so notable episodes, and their opinions on the show as a whole. I decided to sit this one out because Matt and Mike know this show a little bit better than I do, and they kind of share a special bond over Friends from when they were first getting to know each other back in the day. So if you're listening to the podcast for the first time, please check out our old episodes at ovpodcast.com and go to obsessiveviewer.com for all of our blog content. Also, follow each of us on Twitter. Matt is at obsessiveviewer, Mike is at IamMikeWhite, and I'm at obsessivetiny. If you'd like to get a hold of us, you can send an email to either Matt, Mike, Tiny, or podcast at obsessiveviewer.com. And please give us a like on Facebook and subscribe on iTunes. Please enjoy the episode, and thanks for listening.
This is Matt Hurt at Obsessive Viewer on Twitter.
And this is Mike at I Am Mike White on Twitter.
And this is a bonus episode of ObsessiveViewer.com's The Obsessive Viewer Podcast. Hello, guys. Welcome to a bonus episode of the Obsessive Viewer Podcast. We're a weekly movie and TV podcast that covers a specific topic, be it genre, trope, movie, or show. Each episode, you can find back episodes at ovpodcast.com. And thank you, Tiny, for the awesome intro that I haven't heard yet. How's it going, Mike?
It's pretty good.
Awesome. Well, As I said, this is a bonus episode. We're going to be talking about Friends, the TV show, because it's about to go on to Netflix Instant here in a couple days, and we're kind of in between episodes for like the New Year's, like a few days away. So we decided to record this bonus episode, kind of paying tribute to Friends, the NBC sitcom, obviously. And Friends it's just me and Mike for this one, because Friends kind of this is kind of one of maybe a few different things that really bonded us as friends when we first met. So I thought it would be appropriate if it was just me and Mike on here talking about it and give Tiny a week off.
It's more than just a bonus episode. I'd call it a special episode.
It is.
And it's absolutely one of the things that bonds us. We've kind of told the anecdote before, but I remember one of the cool things we did our freshman year when we were roommates was we went out at midnight to get the final season of Friends on DVD together.
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, but when we watched, was it several episodes of the final season or just the last episode?
I feel like it was only the last episode.
Okay, it could have been just the last episode.
Yeah, and we should preface here that that cool is a relative term. But go ahead.
Well, yeah, okay. We synced them up. We synced them up on our two TVs on the separate ends of the room to kind of have like a surround sound situation happening.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome.
Yeah. And it's just such a meaningful show to both of us, and we know that. And it's a meaningful show to so many people. So I'll let Matt tell you guys in a second kind of how we're going to be talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things I like to do, one of the things we like to do on the show is kind of give ourselves a base question, kind of decide for ourselves what we want to come back to each time we make a point. And I remember reading an article only a couple years after the show had ended. By the way, it's been 10 years since the show went off. So not only is it just going to Netflix, but it's also been 10 years. So we're kind of celebrating two things, I guess, on this episode. But anyway, a couple years after, it was like ranking the best shows of the 90s or the best shows of all time. I don't remember what it was. But it said Friends, and it just kind of had a short blurb, a couple of words. It said, sharp dialogue, even sharper haircuts. And I thought that was hilarious, and it stuck with me. And at the time, I agreed. But over time, it's kind of rubbed me the wrong way, or I don't know if that sentiment has lasted, because it just seems not good enough for a show that to me has such a legacy. And then it gets me wondering what what is the show's legacy? Does it have a legacy? Or 10 years later, is it really just about the sharp dialogue and the sharp haircuts? What can we say 10 years later? And I think that's what I want us to think about as we talk about this.
That's a really good point, because I've been rewatching some episodes just kind of to prepare for this. Although I should mention that, I mean, I have like an encyclopedic knowledge of this damn show. So like looking through the episode titles, I was just like overcome with just nostalgia and just like memories of each, like bits from almost pretty much every single episode. I could pin down like a memory of that episode, because I watched the entire series just over and over again, and it just kind of became ingrained in my mind. And it's been a while since I've revisited it, but yeah, that's a really good way to look at it going on. And I mean, we'll address the legacy and everything there, but I mean, at the end, but I can't believe it's been 10 years since the finale.
Yeah,
that's insane.
When you go, how often do you watch reruns, Matt?
Reruns like just of Friends or just in general?
Well, of Friends.
Oh,
I'll say it's kind of a two-parter. How often do you watch it in syndication, and then how many times have you watched the series on DVD?
I never watch it in syndication.
Okay.
Specifically because the DVDs are what I watched. That was how I watched the show. That's how I consumed the show up until like season 8. When I watched it on like live on TV, but I would watch the DVDs and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, and the DVDs have the extra footage and everything. So, like I said before, I would watch it so many times that watching it in syndication, with it chopped up like that, it would feel weird to see like scenes cut out that were so ingrained in my mind.
Yeah, and we're done with the chicken fried rice. That's the most notable one for me.
Is that cut from the syndication?
That's cut from syndication.
Yeah. Oh, that sucks. That's such a great line.
I know, yeah. It's a great show. How did you first? Do you remember your introduction to Friends, where you kind of jumped on?
I think it was probably maybe sophomore year of high school.
Okay, that's kind of late, actually.
I'm trying to remember. It may have been like right before sophomore year of high school, but it was right around the time that DVD, like TV on DVD, was like happening. Like this was like just at the cusp of that, and I saw, and like I had, like I would save up my lunch money because I didn't have a job at that point, but I would save up my lunch money throughout the week, and then like each week I would go. And I mean, like I'd have like $5 a day and save it up over 5 days. I'd have $25.
Right.
And I would go and I would buy DVDs, and then I would go and see Friends on DVD. And like I decided to start from the beginning because my family and I, we would watch it in syndication, and I liked it a lot. I just never really got into it. In a like attached to it the way that I would eventually become attached to a lot of television shows.
Yeah.
So I picked up the DVDs, and then I would watch the DVDs, and I mean, it was part being so blown away by the fact that I could watch an entire season of television in one sitting, if I wanted to, with DVD. And there was also
remember how big a deal those announcements were when like a new TV on DVD would come out, how huge of a deal it was. I remember the advertisements for the Seinfeld DVDs and how they were like, they came back on did all the news junkets, and it was just such a big deal to announce the DVDs.
That's right.
And now it's like, now if you don't get one at the end of a season, something's up.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And a part of that was like I became very familiar with the website tvshowsondvd.com.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. And
Boy Meets World. You kept me informed on Boy Meets World.
Right. And it was just I don't know, it was a very interesting time to be a home like for home what's the word I'm looking for? For home video.
Yeah.
In terms of for television fans. Yeah. And so, I distinctly remember watching the first like couple seasons on DVD, and just being like amazed, thinking like, oh, okay, so Ross only had the monkey for like a few episodes here, or for like it wasn't like a big part of, like, for some reason watching it in syndication, I would just watch it here and there, and I would just be like, oh, so the monkey's like another character.
Right. That's funny.
Yeah. How'd you come to the show and all that?
It was kind of in all things in the 90s were like through The Simpsons, right?
Yeah.
And I'll explain what I mean. Like, if it was on after The Simpsons, I would experience it.
Okay.
And so Fox and syndication, I'm pretty sure back in the day you didn't have to have 100 episodes. In the 90s, you didn't have to have 100 episodes to go into syndication. So something like after the end of the second season, Friends went into syndication.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was quite early on, I'm sure. And I would watch in Chicago on Fox. I'm sure all over the place on Fox after The Simpsons or before The Simpsons. I don't remember exactly when it was, but they'd show 2 episodes of Friends, and so I started watching the syndication pretty early on, and I started to care about the show probably around the 4th season.
Okay.
Yeah, and kind of following the cliffhangers there, and the one on the beach, is that the 4th season?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, where you're not sure which room he's going into.
Right.
That's the one I remember most anticipating the return for in the fall.
Oh, really?
The return for Friends in the fall. So coming for the 5th season. And then just like strolling through Walmart, I found the Best of Friends on DVD, like, volume 1, 5 episodes. That was my first TV on DVD. And my friends and I would like come home after school and just like memorize parts of it and then perform parts of it for our other friends.
That's awesome.
There's an episode I'll talk about which I have dubbed my favorite of all time. I don't know that that's fully accurate, but if you have to pick one,
right.
I don't know today if that's true, but at one time I could literally do the entire episode verbatim. And we would just act it out. And so I was obsessed with that. And then I had some friends who had the first season on DVD, and I eventually got first season on DVD for myself and just became obsessed. I remember crying just that it was over when the show ended in 2004.
Yeah.
It was a big deal.
Oh yeah, it was huge, and huge for television. I mean, we talk about how big the show was. I mean, and it was huge for a variety of reasons, but also just rewatching the episodes, it's like one of the best like multicam sitcoms I ever, really.
Yeah. And at a time, I would say it was the best sitcom ever, and that kind of goes back to our question: is that true? Was it ever true? Is it still true? I don't know.
Right. We will find out.
So how are we going to do this? How are we going to talk about this?
Well, I figure that we're going to do. I figure we can start out by just talking about an overall idea of what the show is, because, and also, if you're listening to this, we're going to spoil it. So this is so if you haven't watched it, go check it out on Netflix and watch it, and then come back and listen to this. But we're going to basically, I think we're going to start out by just talking about the characters, an overview of the show, and then we're just going to go season by season and hit notable episodes per season, and then just go from there. So an overview of the show, it's 6 friends in New York, in a very very nice apartments, in New York City. It's just
unreasonably nice apartments.
Right.
Considering.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And it's just their friendship and relationships and antics and everything. It's 6 characters. There's Joey, Chandler, Ross, Rachel, Phoebe, Monica, and each character kind of fits a specific kind of archetype. I've found like Ross is kind of just the nerdy guy. He's a scientist guy, nerdy. Rachel's kind of the prom queen or cheerleader type person, spoiled. She's the introduction to the show. And then Joey is there's so much to it, but Joey's the playboy, kind of dim-witted kind of actor guy. Chandler's sarcastic. Monica's a lot of things.
She is a lot of things.
Yeah, she's control freak kind of persona. Phoebe's eccentric, and is that all of them?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Ross, did you mention Ross?
Yeah, nerdy scientist. So they all kind of blend together.
You go through it so fast. It's not that you not that you didn't do justice, but
right.
There's so much more to them.
There really are, and there's so much to their interactions. Also, they each have kind of clearly defined relationships within each other within the group, and it's really interesting to see how the writers they created this by having six characters that are all very different from one another, yet they all work together so well. And part of that is just the fact that the chemistry between the cast is so strong. But another part of it is that they have just built in this playground for the characters by having these kind of broad characterizations of the characters starting out. And then they kind of can have a chance to, over 10 seasons, refine that, hone it, and explore the relationships between each character, and having episodes where they have six people to play with, basically, to create storylines from. And it's really awesome, some of the places that they went with these characters.
Right.
So just starting out, who's your favorite character?
That's the question, isn't it? When you watched it with your friends, did you guys like say you're this character? I'm most like this character. Did you do that? Did you do that?
Not really, but I always thought that. I always had in my head. I was like, I'm kind of I identified more with Chandler as just a sarcastic, funny person, but in more realistic terms, I was more like Ross, the kind of not sad sack, but kind of just a nerdy guy, I guess.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's easily Ross, and it has been for when I was younger. I liked to say that it was Chandler because he's the most clever.
Yeah.
By far, right? And I like to think that I had a Chandler type sense of humor. But we'll talk about it kind of when we get into our season-to-season breakdown. But toward the middle, when Ross is going through his second divorce, and he loses his job, someone who is not a fan of Ross might call it over the top, some of his reactions and some of the way he plays certain scenes and reactions. But he goes off the hook, and I love it.
Oh, me too.
And I think people forget that. I think Ross is a lot of people's least favorite character. And I like to tell them, yeah, but remember my sandwich?
Right.
He is hilarious. There are very few, I won't say never, but there are very few times where a Ross joke seems disingenuous or against character.
Right. Yeah.
And his breakdown, and when he finally gets weird, because he was pretty often a straight man in the first 3 or 4 seasons.
Absolutely.
4 or 5 seasons. But in the middle, when he loses it, it's earned.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I love so much about it. And he kind of carries it throughout. Joey can be over the top at times. Chandler, like Monica says about Chandler, joke. And even Phoebe gets on my nerves often, but Ross is always pretty on point. He's my favorite.
That's a good point, and it may be because the show is so focused on Ross and Rachel, but it seems like Ross's trajectory throughout the show, his arcs throughout the entire series, are more clearly defined than some of the other characters, because, like you said, he kind of loses it, and that whole arc is so funny to me because he's so like that, and even to a much lesser extent in the 10th season when he's dealing with Rachel and Joey, that whole thing, which we'll talk about later. When he's dealing with that, it kind of echoes that arc earlier in the series, and it's played really well.
Right.
So it's and I don't know how much of it is because there is kind of a backlash against the Ross character. I feel. I kind of wonder if that's and I kind of wonder if that's due to David Schwimmer's acting. I never had a problem with it, but he's always kind of at least in the earlier seasons when he is the kind of straight man of the group, he's kind of plays it a little low key, and he's a little
Hi.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would still go with Chandler for my favorite though, just because I would go through stretches where I think it was around season 3 when I was watching the DVD. I would stay up like pretty much all night just watching the entire season, and then go to school the next day. And like it reached a point where I watched it so much that just like after a marathon of watching it, like I mean, and this sounds so weird, but it would feel like in interacting with, like I would find myself kind of slipping into like little like not really Chandler-isms, but just kind of like suddenly like, oh my god, I'm sarcastic about this thing, and it's just a reflex.
Yeah, right.
And it was just kind of weird to me. Just didn't really fit
he's
me.
he's the easiest to reproduce. He's he's likable. He's funny in a wide, accessible kind of way.
Right, and it's funny you say that he's easiest to reproduce, although that's not the case in the series.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. Oh God.
That's a good point.
Yeah, well. So okay, do you want to go into like season by season discussions?
I would love to.
That's all right. That's a tough hand to beat.
I thought we had them.
Oh, and when you don't have the cards, you don't have the cards, you know? But, look how happy she is.
So, season 1, kind of an overview of the season. Just, Rachel is entered into their group. She leaves her her fiance on her wedding day, and they have the whole dynamic of Ross chasing after her, kind of having a crush on her and not really doing anything about it because he's kind of Ross, who is also dealing with his ex-wife, who is a lesbian and is pregnant with his baby. Yeah. There's actually a lot of stuff to the first season that, like, just saying it like that, that's actually, it's interesting that they would bring in that many threads that early into the season, or into the series, because it's the second episode of the series whole is the one with the sonogram at the end, which is the one where it's introduced that his ex-wife is pregnant with his baby, and that's kind of a big arc for them to do.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially in the first season. So what's your first episode that you have picked out?
Well, I kind of just picked an obvious one. I picked the pilot.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, and I think it's a really good pilot.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of shows, when you see a pilot, it's always kind of shocking, and that was actually part of the show, and it's actually like part of the history of the show. But it's really quite effective at getting to know each of the characters, and then, like you said, where although Ross doesn't find out about his ex-wife until the next episode,
mm-hmm.
you get an establishment for Ross. You know that Ross had feelings at one time for Rachel, which of course comes back at the end, and so it's just a good bookend.
Nice. Yeah, it really is, and it's a good, like, kind of mission statement for the series, I guess, or kind of a thesis statement for the series as a whole, because you get the Ross and Rachel thing, and it's pivotal, throughout the whole series. And it's interesting because they had talk about the pilot. They had like focus groups and test groups and stuff like that. That they weren't sure about it before it aired, because they were afraid that, like, the network and people were afraid that Monica was too slutty, because she
Really?
Yeah. Did you not know about this?
It sounds familiar.
Yeah, they basically, in the pilot, Monica goes on a date with her coworker and ends up having sex with him, because he goes through this whole spiel about how he hasn't been able to perform sexually since his relationship ended and all that stuff, and then that kind of caused her to lower her defenses, and then she ended up having sex with him. Right. And it turns out that it was just a line that, and everyone kind of knew, like, oh yeah, that's totally a line. but they were afraid, like the network was afraid, because this is 1994, and they were afraid that it would show that she was easy and couldn't be relatable enough to kind of audiences and stuff. But luckily they actually went through with it, and I thought that it went well. It's an interesting piece of trivia to this pilot that I agree is a really strong pilot.
Yeah.
And it does the thing that a lot of sitcom pilots and pilots in general do, is they have a set group, and then they have an outsider kind of entering into that group, which is it's a pretty easy way to introduce the group dynamic of a show, and it works really well here.
And what's great is when you go back, she really does feel kind of like the outsider or the newbie for the first couple of episodes. It doesn't last long.
Yeah, and it's kind of punctuated by her, her not knowing how to provide for herself or take care of herself, and that's kind of how it kind of makes her assimilating into the group more natural and less of a like, oh, okay, this whole group is a group and this is the new one. It makes her feel new to the audience instead of being like oh, this is the first time she's in the group and now she's a part of the group, so this is the group. It's more
right.
It's a more gradual assimilation, I guess.
Right.
Yeah. If you don't mind, I'll go with my first one.
Please do.
All right. It's the episode, the one with the poker, with all the poker. It's
yes.
I picked this episode specifically because it comes kind of late in the first season. It's episode 18 of the season, but it's such an interesting way to showcase all the characters and kind of build them as a group,
right,
as well. Right. It's such, because in the episode they play poker, and you also get the Ross and Rachel aspect of it where he lets her win, and she's also trying to make get a job basically in the field that she wants to be in, and it's played really well. Right. It's a really good way of showcasing the group dynamic. And also starts with the great opening, like the cold open where they're what is it? They're stuffing envelopes for her resume, and they're whistling the music for the what is it called? From
the Whistle While You Work.
Yeah.
Snow White and Seven Dwarfs.
Yeah. Oh, I just liken it to is it Bridge on the River Kwai?
Oh, maybe.
Yeah. Well, that's where I got it from.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually my other episode from the season.
Is it really?
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to talk about it?
For a reason. Well, I didn't have a whole lot more to say than you said. It was included on the Best of Friends DVD, and so it was kind of the ones I remember the most. But also, I can't help. We'll talk about this later, but I can't help but think about the milestones with Ross and Rachel, and that's one of them. Mm-hmm. Just the way he lets her have it, and it's just the interplay is good. It shows why the show was a hit early on.
Yeah,
first season episodes aren't usually that great, and it's a standout. It's a standout episode for the series, I think.
Oh yeah, and just like at the end of it when he's like, because it's also a good it's a good episode to show the disconnect between the gender roles, I guess, of the dynamic of the group, and it kind of flips that a bit,
right?
And that's a big part of the arc of the episode, and it's really. I mean, I get kind of chills when I think of like at the end when Ross gives it to Rachel, and he's just like, oh yeah, but look how happy she is and all that. It's just such a nice moment between Ross and Rachel that Rachel isn't even aware of, which is what a lot of the Ross and Rachel moments in season 1 are. It's just that they're poignant little moments between Ross and Rachel that Rachel isn't aware of.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
What's your next one?
My next one is, and I kind of struggle with this one too because I also wanted to do like the one with the stoned guy and the one with fake Monica.
Yeah.
But it's episode 22, the one with the ick factor.
Okay.
This is the one where Monica is dating a guy who turns out to be a senior in high school.
Yeah.
And it's so funny to see them rip on her for it. And
Right.
like that scene where they're all like, they make like jokes about him watching Power Rangers and stuff like that. It's really funny to me. And then they have the oh, that's right. Oh my God, they have the whole subplot of Phoebe working for Chandler.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the kind of the part that I really latched onto.
It's another good, you find out about Chandler and kind of what his job situation is like. That not that we see him at work all that much, but it informs his character.
Yeah, and his work life is kind of a big part of his character throughout the series. Like, I mean, their professional choices throughout the series are all kind of big defining parts of their characters, but more so with Chandler because he's the one that kind of goes through kind of a big change throughout the course of the series in terms of his career and everything.
Right.
Which I always thought was really interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
But the stuff with Monica and the kid it's so funny to me.
Yeah.
And awkward. And I'm a big fan of like awkward humor. And it's just really, really awkward. And even though some of the kind of like the show is kind of dated because of its some of the
It is. I remember when you and I watched it in 05, I guess.
Yeah.
Which was only a year later. I couldn't remember if it was 05 or early 06, but I guess it was 05.
Mm-hmm.
Just thinking, man, this show ages so well. But the first season hasn't.
It really hasn't, and it kind of they make the like little asides to referencing like current events to an extent, which I mean that's fine because I mean it's a sitcom, it's all that, but it kind of hearing them talk about some of the stuff is here now in 2014 is it falls a little flat, but it's not like a show. It's not like the show relied on that kind of like any kind of social commentary or anything like that.
Right.
But those little like snippets are kind of stick out. But the one with the ick factor is a lot of fun to me because it shows a good side to their dynamic that they can kind of make fun of each other or rip on each other, but it still be kind of okay, I guess.
Definitely agreed. That's a good one. Good choice.
Oh, thank you.
Usually, with this thing, our loyal listeners, we're also going to do like a least favorite of the season.
Yeah.
Just to let you know, Matt, I didn't really pick one for season 1.
I didn't. I didn't either.
Not that there isn't an episode that is the worst. I mean, of course, there's a worst episode in 24 episodes.
Right.
But you can't really... With the first episode being as good as it is, you can't fault any bad episode in a season 1 of a sitcom.
Right. Oh yeah. And season 1 of any sitcom is just it's a building season, a way for them to define their chemistry and everything like that. So there's always a rough period, and the rough period in Friends is not that pronounced because they were all kind of clearly defined from the beginning, and that's kind of a rarity in sitcoms.
Right. Yep.
So yeah, so I guess we can move on to season 2, which I do have a least favorite for that, but we'll save that for later.
I do too, and we'll talk about that together because mine's the same as yours.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Do you have any other standout episodes from season 1?
I don't have any. No.
Okay.
Nope.
You're over me?
Oh, God.
What? You're,
Oh, God.
You're over me?
Oh, God. Oh, God.
When were you under me?
So season 2.
Season 2. Do you want to give an overview?
Yeah, I do. Season 2, we get more Ross and Rachel stuff. Ross comes back from his trip abroad when Rachel discovers that she also kind of likes Ross, and that's why she received the gift from Ross last season. I don't know. I'm being really vague with my details. But comes back, and she's kind of upset that Ross is with Julie, and so they break it up because Ross finds out that Rachel liked Ross, but Ross makes a list of the two, and they find out, and then there's the prom video, and they get back together, and everything's all good.
Right.
It's a Ross and Rachel season.
It is, and what's interesting about that is that it resolves itself. The Ross and Rachel aspect of it, or the will they won't they of it, resolves itself midway through the season.
Right.
Which I thought was really, really interesting for them. A really interesting way for them to do it, because they don't drag it out through an entire season. And I don't even think that they really. I don't think that they really got them together around sweeps. Well, yeah, I guess it was around sweeps because it was around February. Yeah. But that's not a fault on them, because I mean that's a big. Obviously, they would go for a big episode then.
Yeah. But
it says something about the show that that the entire season didn't. That they went in. Sure, they eventually came to terms with the fact that they got them together a little soon in the series, very soon in the series, actually.
Yeah.
But they didn't. They didn't drag it out. They didn't make like a. They didn't make a situation where the first season is Ross and Rachel from Ross's perspective, and the entire season 2 is Ross and Rachel from Rachel's perspective. And I kind of respect them for that, because it really made it so that they didn't retread old territory.
Right.
And the stuff between Ross and Rachel from Rachel's perspective of Rachel being in love with Ross and him not knowing is also really solid and really good.
Yeah, it is. Well, again, I said this once, I'll say it again. We're going to talk about the relationships after we do our run through of the seasons, or maybe through, I don't know. We're going to talk about it. But even if you are not in the Ross and Rachel camp at the end, you can't deny the effectiveness of season 2.
Oh, absolutely. Oh yeah, and we'll talk about that.
Okay.
But yeah.
Notable episodes. Go.
First one I have is the one with the list. We talked about it. You talked about it in your overview of it, but man, this is just such a fun episode. But it has such a repercussions. The repercussions of this episode are felt in the next few episodes. So it's a really fun situation, but it's also has this kind of underpin of drama to it that I thought was really cool. I guess it comes after Ross and Rachel kissed, and then obviously Ross makes the list and all that, which. Right. I want to point out, two things about it. One is that they use Chandler's laptop, which, when you go back and watch it, this makes it seem so dated because the laptop is so old. Mm-hmm. And that just makes me laugh, just as someone living.
Yeah, anytime you see old technology.
Oh yeah. It gives it a
Anytime you see an episode, here's a question I've had for a while about 90s shows. Mm-hmm. Hey, I got to check my messages.
Yeah.
But not just at their house, when like they're at a restaurant and they got to use a payphone to check their messages. Was that really a thing in the 90s, or is that a 90s sitcom like device that they just used?
Huh. I think it was
I'm sure it was possible. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying, was that a thing people did often, or is that a device?
Are we talking about? Are they setting it up as if it was they're calling home to talk to their answering machine or to play back their answering machine? Or is this at a time where voicemail is already a burgeoning?
Yeah, they're checking. They are checking their voicemail. They're checking their answering machine by calling it.
Okay.
Checking their messages.
I never really had an issue with it as a plot device in sitcoms.
Okay.
But yeah, it comes into play in a couple seasons, season or two. Later,
I mean,
but
it's okay. It doesn't bother me.
no. It's also worth mentioning that the one with the list is also the B plot of it is Monica takes a job with Michael McKean. Is that his name?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That he hired her to make a a Thanksgiving dessert out of mocklet.
Yeah.
And that was a plot. That was a plot. That was put into the episode to give the episode a Thanksgiving quality. It's the only Thanksgiving episode that isn't really a Thanksgiving episode.
Right. My brother and I, we a month ago we watched all 10 episodes that took place on Thanksgiving.
Nice.
Of Friends, and it was a blast. I mentioned very few of them in this list. You'll see which ones I do, but they're all worthy of being on a top list. But this one is barely that.
Yeah, it's such a kind of just like you can tell it's just something that was thrown in just to appease. Because I want to say that NBC asked them to change it to put in a plot line to make it Thanksgiving so that they could market it as a Thanksgiving block of episodes.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
So my episode, if you don't mind.
Oh yeah. Oh, I just want to say really quickly, sorry. Just the short story that Chandler improvises when he's reading the list is so funny to me. I'll throw it into the episode here.
It was summer. And it was hot. Rachel was there. A lonely gray couch. Oh, look, cried Ned. And then the kingdom was his forever, the end.
That's it? That's all you wrote? You're the worst writer in the whole world.
But yeah, it makes me laugh every time. So what was yours?
Well, I want to say that I wrote down the one with the list, but then noticed you had it and decided to change it up.
Oh, okay.
And then I almost went with the one where Ross finds out because I love the way David Schwimmer plays finding out about it. Right? When he says you're over me, when were you
when were you under me?
Under me.
Yeah.
It's just well played.
Oh, yeah.
But the one I chose is the one with the baby on the bus.
Oh, nice. One of my favorite lines is in that episode. Go ahead, sorry.
Go ahead and say it.
Oh, it's where the line is like, all right, pick a. All right. It's ducks or clowns. All right, we'll flip for it. Heads or tails. All right, well, heads because ducks have heads. It's like, what kind of scary ass clowns came to your birthday?
Yeah. Yeah. For that reason, it's hilarious, but even more base because it's just so sitcom-y.
It is. Oh, it absolutely is.
Right. I talk about this all the time. I love deconstructing things. I love to bring shows to a reduction, which is kind of what I'm doing with the sharp dialogue, sharp haircuts thing. But
Right.
I love to bring them to a reduction. When I talk about a sitcom, a situational comedy, when you have characters doing funny things in funny situations, the one with the baby on the bus is exactly that. They pair off their characters and they put them in funny situations.
Yeah. And they build the comedy from that situation, and it plays so well, especially since you have characters that have such strong chemistry with each other,
Right?
That they can carry the audience through this ridiculous situation and also this really disturbing situation. I mean,
Yeah, that's the other thing is that it's really scary.
yeah,
And they play it for humor, which whatever, it's whatever, funny.
Yeah, and it's something that kind of it comes back. Like that aspect of it is kind of rampant throughout the whole series. Like the one that jumps to mind is later in the series, or like a couple seasons later at least, where Monica accidentally bangs Ben's head on the pillar thing. And it's like I'd be terrified.
Yeah. Monica Bang.
Monica Bang. Which that yeah, but anyway, yeah, the one with the baby on the bus is really strong, and it's really funny. Also
has
has
second episode.
I do, but I want to point out that this the one with the baby on the bus has a guest spot or cameo from Leah Thompson.
Oh yeah, my favorite from my favorite movie of all time.
Yeah.
What about you? Second episode? Or is this your first episode?
This is second.
Okay. What about you? Second episode?
Now I'm lost at where we are. Okay. I want to go with one episode, but I actually just saw, like, there are two episodes I want to talk about for my second one. The one that I just realized that I just saw, because I'm looking at a list of the episodes. This is actually my favorite episode of the season, and it's a contender for one of my favorite episodes of the series.
Okay.
So I'll talk briefly about this one, but it's the one where Heckles dies.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That was on my list at first too, but go ahead.
I don't know why I kind of forgotten about this when I made my list, because I guess I overlooked it. But man, this is such a strong episode for me as a fan of Chandler. It's just interesting to see how they tie together this character, that this kind of throwaway character of Heckles as like a kind of like a neighbor that's always grumpy at you kind of character, and then they kind of give him this emotional send off through Chandler, because there's a scene where Chandler having gone through all of Heckles' things, and he kind of becomes obsessive over Heckles and the fact that he could turn into Heckles, and he kind of has this existential crisis after the death of a neighbor. Right. And it's really interesting to see Matthew Perry play through like all the emotions that go into this kind of descent into almost madness. Right. And it's really interesting to see these characters having, I mean, at this point they're like, my God, and this puts such a something on us. At this point they're like a couple years younger than what we are now.
We're talking about the second season. Right?
Yeah.
So Ross would be 27.
Mm-hmm.
And the math for that is in the fourth season, Ross goes, and so what if I like to go home, throw on some Kenny G, and take a bath? Joey goes, Ross, we're 29. We're not women.
That's right. Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's the one where they're so gonna party, isn't it?
Yeah, they're so gonna party.
Oh, that's a great episode. But anyway, so this episode with the one where Heckles dies, it's just it speaks to me because he has this freak out and everything, and then it ends on such a strong moment, because he's standing in Heckles' apartment, and he's like, we'll try to keep it down, and that just, I mean, it's played for kind of it's kind of a cheap, not cheap, but it's, I don't know how to say it, but it's just a really special moment.
I think what you're trying to say is that line implies we knew Heckles,
right? And we didn't,
and we don't at all.
No.
But the episode is about Chandler, so we can kind of forgive it.
Yeah.
And in the end, it works. The line works.
Yeah, and it's not because it's like, oh no, a character died and I'm sad. It's more like one of my favorite characters has gone through an emotional journey, and this is his. Yeah. Exactly. And it works really well for me, because I love those kind of episodes where it's a focus on one of the characters going through a certain thing in their life that is very gives it a certain kind of specialness, I guess, aside from being just a sitcom plot device kind of situation.
Right.
But then briefly I'll talk about the other one. The one with 5 steaks and an eggplant, I think, is really strong.
Okay.
Because like the one with all the poker, it also is an episode that shows the differences within the group, because it's all about they can't afford certain things. Like, some of them can't afford stuff as much as the other ones can, and it's a taboo kind of problem that happens in social groups, because I mean, if certain people have more money and they want to do more things, it's kind of messes with the group dynamic. When you have such a, centralized group of friends, it's kind of hard to deal with that kind of discrepancy. And I think it's played in this episode really, really well. But yeah, we can talk more about it or not. I mean, you can go ahead and bring up your next one.
Okay. Mine is kind of an obvious one that I guess I kind of have to mention, but it's the one with the prom video.
Yes, I love this episode.
Which I bet if you asked 10 people, 4 of them would say this is their favorite episode.
Oh yeah.
There's I love the creepy guy. When the Monica has the interview with the creepy guy, right? Who asks her if she's gonna wash the vegetables.
Yes.
She says, don't. I like them dirty. Joey gives Chandler the reject from the Mr. T collection. I pity the fool who wears this bracelet. I pity the fool. Just a bunch of classic lines. But of course, the reason why people love the episode is because toward the end of the episode, they're watching the home video of Monica and Rachel's prom. Monica's date or Rachel's date might not make it, and so Ross decides to go. Basically, it's all a way to get Rachel to fall in love with Ross all over again.
Yeah.
For me, it's one of the great TV moments of all time.
Oh, absolutely. Oh yeah.
I love it.
And I want to say, was this the first time that they had like a flashback? I mean, it's not necessarily a flashback because they're watching it, but it's the first time in the show that they went back to before the show.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
And it's a well that they draw from throughout the rest of the series many times.
It is. It is sometimes not to such positive returns.
Right. But
funny,
they set such a strong
here,
precedent. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. And so it's just such a classic episode in terms of what you expect from the show. Great, not intense, but drama that hits you right in the feels and classic jokes, memorable jokes.
Yeah, the whole lobster thing is such. It plays out early in the episode where Phoebe's talking about how like, oh, they're lobsters, and it's kind of this quirky like little thing. And then they pay it back at the end when Rachel goes and kisses them. It's just it's such a nice like little punctuation mark.
Yeah.
In it, and also just to mention this, the episode was ranked number 100 on TV Guide's 100 greatest episodes of all time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was in 1997.
Is that the only Friends showing? Oh, 1997.
Yeah.
Okay, that was only a year after it came out.
Yeah, which I think it speaks to its staying power or its immediate kind of resonance through TV viewers at that time, because it was number 1 on the greatest episodes of all time list.
Right.
And it was so soon after it aired.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was what number was it?
Number 100.
It was number 100. Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine.
But yeah, I love this episode so much.
Yeah. It's a great one.
Yep. Should we move on to season 3?
Yeah. Yeah, that was all of them. Go ahead.
Oh. Okay. I can't. You're a totally different person to me now. I used to think of you as somebody that would never, ever hurt me. Ever. God, and now I just can't stop picturing you with her. I can't. It doesn't matter what you say or what you do, Ross. It's just changed everything. Forever.
This can't be it.
Then how come it is?
Well, season 3 is a turbulent one for the Friends. It sees Ross and Rachel breaking up. And I want to say that it also is a big focus of the season is Monica and Richard, right? Is that the season where they're together?
Yeah. Yes,
which is really entertaining in and of itself, but it shows the group kind of dealing with several different relationship things, like Ross and Rachel breaking up, Chandler and Janice going through their own kind of breakup.
I always forget how Janice started. Whenever I'm doing a Friends rewatch, I am aware of Janice, but I never am cognizant of, this is the first appearance of Janice. Do you know? Can you tell me exactly when it is?
The first appearance of Janice. Oh, that is a tough one. I'm looking at the list of episodes now. I'm kind of scanning to see if there's a if it pops out to me, because Janice is a figure throughout the series that pops up once per season, and I thought that was really interesting. Sometimes in a big role, sometimes in just a cameo. One time as a vocal cameo, but she's there for each season. And I don't know what her first one is, but I remember she's referenced like kind of offhand.
Janice Littman-Geralnik. First appearance, the one with the East German laundry detergent.
Oh, nice. And that's one of my favorite episodes of that season too.
Yeah, fifth episode of season 1.
Okay. But season 3 kind of go. It's not a very clearly defined season. There's not like a big arc throughout the season. It ends with the one at the beach where we referenced earlier. So it's kind of this. I don't know how else to characterize it. It's a very strong emphasis on the relationships that the friends have with other people. That's about the best way I can describe it. More so than some of the other earlier seasons. So what did you think of season 3, and what is your first episode?
Season 3 is great. It's season 3 is kind of where a show is supposed to be hitting its stride. Friends is interesting because it hit its stride with the prom video in season 2.
Yeah.
So season 3 is kind of where it hit its it plateaued at its peak, really, till it ended. But I think it peaked in popularity, or at least it got a huge jump in season 3.
Okay.
My favorite episode of season 3, I think, is my favorite episode of all time, and it's the second episode of the season, the one where no one's ready.
Yes.
And it's just such an important episode to me. Like I said, I memorized this episode, and we used to like play this episode with friends. I just kind of acted out for people. It was on the Best of Friends DVD, and it's just so full of lines. When you describe to somebody what a bottle episode is, you can describe this episode, and they know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Right? They may not know that that's a bottle episode, and in fact, they might not even realize that they didn't leave the apartment the whole episode. But this is what a bottle episode is. It's Ross and Rachel being cute and sexy together. It's Chandler and Joey being best friends and funny. It's Monica being super high strung, and it's Phoebe being quirky and weird. It's a classic Friends episode. It's the most classic Friends episode.
Oh yeah, and it's a great introduction to the series also.
Right.
And not that the pilot isn't, but just
right. This, if we're playing pick 2 episodes, this has to be one of them.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I love the kind of the way that the argument like Ross is dealing with such stress between everyone's situation and everything. But I love the stuff that comes to play between him and Rachel throughout the episode, because he's like she reaches a point where she's just pissed off at him.
Right. And
then it's just such an interesting way to show their relationship without like them breaking up and getting it's a nice moment for their relationship as a relationship, rather than it being like they're getting together or they're breaking up kind of episode.
Right. Totally.
Yeah.
And in the same way, it does that for Joey and Chandler.
It really does. Yeah, and that's such a fun subplot. I mean, that's it. It kind of underscores the not importance of, because I mean it's kind of like this stressful, like kind of real time kind of thing with Ross being all frantic about them all getting ready and everything. But that's such a fun little like journey through Chandler and Joey, seeing like them being so at odds about this damn chair.
Yeah.
It's so funny to me.
It's a very friend thing to do.
Oh, absolutely.
Friend as in the show, but it's very it's friends do that.
Right. Oh yeah.
It's a very real thing.
Yeah. And it's played to such great effect in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
And
do you have a favorite from the season?
My favorite overall from the season.
Well, just give me your next.
Okay. That was your transition to the next one. Okay. My first one is the one with the morning after.
Okay.
That's the big Ross and Rachel breakup episode. And while the road to getting there is kind of, I mean, they go through some pretty heavy stuff in their relationship to reach the, like, we were on a break kind of situation, or to reach the point where she asks them to take a break.
Yeah.
They go through some heavy stuff, jealousy, stuff like that. And it works for me. Like, it's really, I mean, it's kind of the most dramatic moments of the series are Ross getting really jealous and awkward with his relationship with Rachel, which is something that's really interesting to me because, I mean, you can argue that it doesn't seem that real, but I feel like it does. Like, I think it's really,
I feel like Ross would be a jealous type.
Yeah, he'd be a jealous type.
There's always, everybody, despite how smart they may be, has faults, right? And his is insecurity.
Yeah, and it's really amplified by the fact that this is Rachel. This is the girl that he's had a crush on since he was 15 years old.
Right.
So I feel like it's warranted that he would be super paranoid about the relationship.
Right. Totally.
And the risk of losing her, and it ends up losing her.
Right.
But what I really like about this episode is that, I mean, he messes up, and we'll talk about that when we get to the whole discussion of the relationship, I guess. But I like the fact that there's like a mini bottle episode in this episode because they're stuck in the room as the breakup is going on, and that's something that I always liked a lot. And it kind of to intercut the big breakup with this kind of sitcom fun kind of B plot with them being stuck in a room is an interesting way to level out the episode for me.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So do you have anything to say about the morning after?
No, I agree with you fully. It's another, like I said, Ross is my favorite, and I think part of it is because of Schwimmer's performances, and when he realizes that he's like gonna kiss this arm for the last time.
Yeah.
That can be cheesy. But gosh, if it's not well done, as far as I'm concerned.
It really, really is.
Because in a moment where you're realizing that that's happening, that you react almost foolishly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Nobody wants to watch you do those kinds of things. Or,
right.
Well, people do want to watch, but you don't want anybody to see you do those things.
Right. It's Ross at such a vulnerable level. And
exactly.
I mean, and I will say that the line where I think he's like, this can't be over or whatever, and then she's like, why is it, or something like that?
Why is it? Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that line in and of itself was a little like, they didn't really stick the landing on that one.
Yeah. Right.
But the effect of the episode is it comes through. Like the power of that scene is it comes through and it ripples.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, then my other episode, if you don't mind.
Go right ahead.
This is one I am going to talk about, a Thanksgiving episode. And I pick it because Friends was known for its Thanksgiving episodes. It aired on Thanksgiving. It aired on Thursdays. And so oftentimes it was on Thanksgiving. And it's the one where they fight for the Geller Cup.
Yeah.
And one of the coolest dynamics of the show that I always loved was, despite how I feel about Monica, I don't know if we've said who our least favorite is, but Monica by far is mine. Yeah,
mine too.
I hate Monica.
Yeah.
She is too over the top. In fact, I don't like Courtney Cox all that much.
I don't really either.
So that could be part of it, but I feel like Monica as a character has a lot going against her.
Right.
So anyway, you get the dynamic there of what they're like, something that we see several times throughout. It's Chandler and Joey being buddies, and buddies fight over girls, and I love how they. It's another episode before Ross and Rachel break up, and so they're kind of just being in a relationship. And I love to see how Ross, as a man playing a football game, is trying to be delicate with his girlfriend, who is not good at football.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And he goes, see, now they pick Joey, and now I pick you.
That's right.
You don't pick me, you're stuck with me.
Yeah.
Which is very genuine. That's a very real couple struggle.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, it's a standout. It's a standout in the football episode, or in the Thanksgiving episodes.
Nice. Yeah, I agree, and I really like it for the way that it shows Ross and Monica's relationship as siblings. Some of the strongest episodes and some of Courtney Cox's most tolerable episodes are the ones where it's focused on her sibling relationship with Ross, and I really like that. As someone who is a sibling, I appreciate that aspect of the storytelling in the series.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Do you have another one from 3?
I do. The one with the tiny T-shirt.
Okay.
I kind of. It's kind of an out there episode for me, I guess, to pick, because I mean the only real storyline I can really remember from it is the title, but I really liked that storyline where they kind of they're bickering a little bit and they get back he gets back the T-shirt. I think I just like it because he gives her back the T-shirt.
Yeah.
And being a person,
I'll tell you what that is. As someone who is on the Ross and Rachel fan bus,
mm-hmm.
giving her back the shirt is kind of like it's kind of a foreshadowing of a line that they say later on in the series about how it's never off the table,
right?
And how they're never done, and that if you don't buy the ending, and there are people who don't, Ross never gives up, and he would never give up. And a lot of people say, well, why didn't he just move on after 8 years?
Right.
Well, sometimes you don't, especially if your sphere of influence includes that person for so long. Right? Like if you graduate from high school and go separate ways, you're going to get over that person. But
right.
It wouldn't end for Ross, and I can see I love that episode because that is another. It's a very Ross type of gesture, but it's also a type of gesture that a person who was and always will be in love with someone would do.
That's a perfect summation of the episode and of that dynamic too, and also just the fact that he has to deal with her every day, like he's part of it's obviously
it's a sister's best friend.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Which reminds me of
struggle.
Yeah. It's just
reminds you of what?
Just an episode later on that we'll talk about in season 5, the Kips, where they
Right.
So you talked about the one at the beach, the finale. This is one of the finales that I wasn't that crazy about.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it didn't really resonate. Like the show is really built around these big tentpole season finales and premieres and stuff. Like, I mean, each season finale kind of had this weight behind it. Like, Chandler and Monica are getting married in this episode, in this finale.
Right.
They're getting engaged. Rachel's having her baby. Every season finale kind of has this big thing, and then this season 3 is just like, oh, they're going to the beach.
Right.
And
Right.
That's just my feelings on it. It's not a bad episode.
Yeah, the one at the beach never bothered me that much, except for the really bad skull cap that Ross's girlfriend wears.
Yeah.
That one's pretty horrendous. Speaking of bad episodes, we kind of set something up early and then missed it. We forgot to talk about the bad episode we both want to talk about in season 2. What was it?
Yeah, I completely spaced that too. But it's the one after the Super Bowl.
Right. What about it?
It's just filled with like there's multiple cameos in that episode, right?
I know Jean-Claude
Or
Van
is it
Damme.
just Jean-Claude Van Damme? But I just felt like it's a little, for a series that is so built around a central dynamic between 6 people and their relationship and their chemistry, it felt a little too much like go big. And obviously they went big for being after the Super Bowl. And also the fact that it's called the one after the Super Bowl is a little,
right.
It's a little too meta for me, for one thing.
Yeah,
because
that's true.
This isn't a show that is about being meta, and it has like, it has some good guest stars, like Fred Willard plays the guy that tells Ross that the monkey's dead. And
right.
then,
Dan Castellaneta.
Yeah. Yep. And also that one guy who plays. Oh yeah, and Brooke Shields is in this episode.
Brooke Shields. Okay. Yeah. So I get it.
Yeah.
now.
It was just it was too much, and it's. I mean it felt like the show. It's indicative of the show being just such a breakout hit that in their second episode they really went for broke in terms of star power and guest stars and stuff like that in this one episode, and it just felt a little cocky to me and a little ill-fitting for the tone of the series.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
Well, that's fair. Well, shall we move on then to season 4?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Gentlemen, your pick.
It's all relative.
Monica and I had a grandmother who died. You both went to her funeral. Name that grandmother.
Nana? She has a real name.
Althea! Althea! What are you doing?
I took a shot.
You're shooting with Althea?
Althea is correct.
Nice shooting!
So season 4 there are actually a couple of huge story arcs going on. There are the obvious ones. Throughout the season, Ross falls in love with Emily, and it's kind of a whirlwind relationship where he and Emily eventually decide to get married, while Ross realizes that Rachel realizes that she's still in love with Ross. She ends up attending the wedding, and then probably the most memorable line is Ross says, "I take thee, Rachel," even though he's talking to Emily Woltham.
Right.
The other big storyline is that Lisa Kudrow was pregnant during the filming of this season, so they wrote it into the story where she would carry her brother's child, which turns out to be triplets.
Right.
And then finally, amongst all that, is actually my favorite story arc of it is with Joey and Chandler. And we mentioned this long time ago, how in the middle of the season in the middle of a series, friends always have to have some sort of breakup.
Mm-hmm.
I think you know what? We mentioned that in Community, which never aired.
Oh yeah, that's right. The lost episode, one of our lost episodes.
Yeah. So never mind that.
Right.
Anyway. Popular series always have some sort of falling out, like in Seinfeld. Jerry kicks Kramer out about the keys because Kramer was inside the house too much, and then he goes to L.A. and all that. So Chandler falls in love with Joey's girlfriend at the time, and doesn't tell Joey about it. So Chandler has to be in the box without speaking, and it's just a good. If you love Joey and Chandler, this has got to be one of your favorite seasons. And so you get the friend breakup, and you get them back together.
Yeah, I really like that aspect of the season. Of the show.
Yep.
Yeah. Should I go first with one of my favorite?
Yeah.
Episode?
Go ahead and do a favorite.
The one with the ballroom dancing. It's episode 4. And it's the one where the superintendent of the building has
Trigger.
Is it? Yeah, Trigger, Mr. Trigger.
Trigger.
He has like he verbally gets angry at Rachel in the hallway, and so Joey kind of gives him a piece of his mind, and it turns out that he threatens to have Monica and Rachel evicted unless Joey can teach him how to dance or be his dancing partner for a superintendent's ball. It's such a ridiculous storyline.
Sounds like a sitcom.
It is, and it's played so well. It's so funny, and it's really. I love that aspect of it because it's like it's so ridiculous, and it's one of the characters kind of off on their own, doing their own thing, and it's played so well. And even more interesting to me is the B story involving Chandler and Ross, that they have this whole story where like Chandler's going through his finances and they're like, yeah, you're paying $50 a month for this gym membership that you never use, and then they decide to go quit the gym, and they bring out this attractive woman comes out and is like they basically have Ross and Chandler come away from it with having a joint account or something, or having like a double membership or something.
Couples count, yeah.
Yeah, and then that leapfrogs into them going to the bank to cancel their account, and then they end up with a joint account. It's really, really funny to me, and I love the Chandler the Chandler lines in it, like just the two ones that are like, I want to quit the gym, and then when they bring out the attractive woman to close their accounts at the bank, he's like, I want to quit the bank. It's just I love that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just feel like this is a really strong episode. Kind of not a strong standalone episode.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep,
for sure. Mine is I hate to do the easy ones. I feel like I'm doing really obvious ones, but they're obvious for a reason. This one's also on the Best of Friends. It's the one with the embryo.
Oh, dude, yeah. That's my next one.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No, that's fine.
That's
Go
okay.
ahead.
It's worth talking about because it's so important.
Oh yeah.
It's the one where it's called the one with the embryos, but really it should be called the one with the game.
Yeah. Oh
right?
yeah.
It's the one where they battle for. It starts out when Chandler and Joey claim to know Ross and Rachel. God, so many characters.
Yeah.
Claim to know Rachel and Monica better than the reverse, right? Yeah. And so the joke is that they decide to have a contest to find out who knows whom more. And we just get amazing backstory for the characters. We get brilliant interplay with the characters. The performances and the quickness, the delivery of the dialogue with Chandler and Joey. In particular, I'm thinking of the one about Ross asks, we both had an aunt who died. Yeah. What was the name of that aunt? And they're running out of time. And Joey goes, Althea. Althea? I took a shot. You're shooting with Althea? Althea is correct. Good shooting.
Good shooting. Oh, I love it so much.
It's just it's awesome. I mean, and it's real, and that's the best you can say about a sitcom is that it's real.
Right. Oh yeah.
And so I just love it. It's so good.
Yeah. And it ends up like changing the sets of the show because they switch apartments at the end.
Yeah, they do. Albeit more brief than I remember. Like watching it on syndication, I thought it was for longer than it was. It's only something like 6 or 7 episodes.
Yeah. I'm trying to
right?
think
It's not long.
Yeah, it's not long at all. It's like a handful of episodes, but it's still it's so interesting to me to see them do that. I mean that's an extreme. I mean, I don't like Friends don't really do that, but it's played so well. And how they're such sore victors in it. Like they come gliding it like I think Chandler is like riding the dog.
Porcelain dog.
Yeah, the porcelain dog.
Yeah. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So fun.
Yeah. So since I had that, and it also has just the beautiful, beautiful Giovanni Ribisi line. My sister's gonna have my babies. Which I feel weird yelling if anyone hears me say that.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. But since that was also my pick, I just want to talk again about kind of the overview of just the Chandler and Joey arc that season, with Chandler being in love with his girlfriend. I'll go ahead and just say my pick for it would be the one with Chandler in the box.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just making sure that wasn't my other one.
Oh yeah. Oh my God.
It's not though. You're
okay.
fine.
Yeah. I like just the cold open is so funny to me because it's their Chandler keeps calling Joey to ask him to apologize to him and all that and get him to talk to him, and then Joey's not having it, so he keeps hanging up, and it just escalates so much. Like Chandler pretends to be like a radio DJ and stuff, and then like there's a little like glint in Joey's eyes, like it's like he believes it for a second, then he's like, oh no, and then he hangs up the phone, and then he does it again, and he finally goes off, and I was like, listen Chandler, I don't want to talk to you or whatever, and then it's just Ross saying like, oh hey it's just me, and then he's like, oh okay, and then he's like, listen, I got Chandler here, and yeah. I love it so much. But the whole dynamic of having Chandler in a box, it's such a goofy way to mend their friendship, but it plays really well, and especially because Chandler and the girl Kate.
Yeah, I think so.
Blue
boy.
Yeah. Anyway, they're like it's not like he didn't. It's such an interesting dynamic, I guess, because like you want to root for Chandler to be in a stable relationship and all that stuff.
Definitely.
So it's not like he did this horrible thing or whatever. So you can buy the whole resolution of it being him being stuck in a box and stuff like that. It also calls back to the time where Joey was trapped in their entertainment center.
Yeah.
Which I thought was just a really good episode.
Yeah.
Another Thanksgiving episode.
Yep. Okay. Then the next one I'll talk about, is the one with the free porn. Yeah. And it's not it. I think it's because I didn't want to pick another Thanksgiving episode, and I don't love all the Emily stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think Emily is not that interesting, and I really just in the end feel bad for Ross. So I picked the one with the free porn because I'm embarrassed to say, Mom, if you're listening to this, I apologize, but like that's a real struggle. Like if that happens, I would not turn off the TV just because you're afraid.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Yeah, it's just a genuine thing.
Yeah, and it's funny. It's funny. This episode kind of has a little bit of a meta factor to me, I guess, or I don't know if meta is the right word, but just the scene where Monica is describing to Ross what he needs to do, and then she just turns it into like the setup of a porn, and then she's like, "Oh, I've been watching too much porn." It's like that's how I feel about the show. I watch too much Friends, and I have friend-isms in my head that isn't really exactly me, and it kind of infiltrates my daily life.
Right.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah.
Get more of Trigger in this episode.
Yeah. So there's not much to say about this episode in particular, but I like it because it's real.
Yes.
In terms of episodes I don't like about this season,
Mm-hmm.
I was unable to pick one.
Really?
Except that I don't love Emily.
Okay. And I can understand that. It's something that's played up a bit, or it's a sudden thing, obviously.
Yeah. Right.
And the relationship just doesn't work, and then they vilify her early in the next season, and it's I don't really care about Emily either.
Yeah.
My pick for episode that I don't like, and the B plots and everything are fine. I like the episode overall. Honestly, I don't think the show had a week, like an episode that wasn't good.
Yeah.
Like the show may not have fired on all cylinders all the time, but it had weak episodes. And the one that I would pick for this season is the one with the cat.
Okay.
Which is just strictly because of the A story. I just think that it's Phoebe being quirky and weird affecting the group. Like, she thinks that this cat is her mother reincarnated, and it's just something that just I thought was just a little...
Okay.
Yeah.
There are times where Phoebe does things like that, and that's definitely... That's bothersome.
Yeah, and it's I mean, it sidesteps being played for comedic effect and just becomes like, I mean, it just sounds like, oh God, these people have to deal with this weird girl sometimes, and that's how I feel about that. That might be a little harsh because she is still a strong point of the group, but it's also like these kind of episodes that they're reliant on the weirdness or a certain aspect of a certain character. Sometimes they can be strong, but then other times like this, they can just be really kind of weak. But this episode is also one where Chandler and Joey are trying to sell their entertainment unit because it doesn't fit right in their apartment, and they have that awesome scene with the two prospective buyers that they're basically Joey and Chandler, and it's so fun. Like they try to, they try to trade them like a canoe or something. And it's so funny to me, to see that. But yeah, that's my pick.
Cool. Yeah. Well, I think that's it for season 4. You want to go ahead and run us through season 5?
You ate my sandwich?
It was a simple mistake. It could happen to anyone.
Oh, really? Did you confuse it with your own turkey sandwich with a moist maker?
No.
Do you perhaps remember seeing a note on top of it?
There may have been a joke or limerick of some kind.
That said, it was my sandwich.
Now calm down. Come look in my office. Some of it may still be in the trash.
What?
Well, it was quite large. I had to throw most of it away.
You threw my sandwich away. My sandwich! My sandwich!
Absolutely. Season 5 is, let's see, it starts... By the way,
this season sucks.
You think it sucks?
No, come on, I'm kidding.
I was going to say.
I've seen your note, and I fully agree. Or maybe your note is about season 6.
My note is about season 6, but...
Either way.
Yeah.
You know what season 5 and 6 are like? If you're a Beatles fan, season 5 and 6 are like Rubber Soul and Revolver, right? They're so similar, and it's them at the top of their game before they really bust it out. Like a lot of people think that Sgt. Pepper is their best album, season 7. But really it's Rubber Soul and Revolver back to back, season 5 and season 6.
Interesting. As someone who isn't that in tune with music and only listens to music they listened to in high school, can you attribute that to Motion City Soundtrack or
Motion
Fall Out
City
Boy?
Soundtrack's fourth, yeah. Okay. It's kind of like... No, I can't.
Okay.
I can't because Fall Out Boy... No, I can't.
Okay. Well,
because the Fall Out Boy trajectory... You're going to have to like put this at the end. You're going to put this as a tag. Because the Fall Out Boy trajectory is a lot more microcosmic. It's a lot smaller.
Right.
Right? Like they found their following with Take This to Your Grave, and then From Under the Cork Tree was really their breakout. And then their big one where they were kind of riding the wave was Infinity on High. Yeah. But there's no real back-to-back
That's true.
albums because Folie à Deux was a huge drop off.
You think so?
In quality, no, I love it.
Oh, okay.
But in terms of popularity, yes, 100%.
Okay. So we'll just attribute this to Motion City Soundtrack. Seasons 5 and 6 are the commit this to memory of Friends.
Okay. If you will.
Okay. But anyway, yeah. Season 5 is the point where the show is at its height in terms of creativeness and of all around just at its height. Popularity, although I don't know if there was a dip in popularity later or anything like that, but it's just all around just at its, like we talked about, firing on all cylinders. This is it firing on all cylinders for these next couple seasons.
Yes.
In my eyes. But season 5 takes an interesting turn for Ross because he got married and then he got unmarried really quickly.
Poor guy.
Yeah, and this is his kind of I'm going crazy kind of season, and it's also a part where, and then you have this really interesting subplot where that is a big point of the series, is that Chandler and Monica have the secret affair that blossoms into a full-blown romance, and about the halfway point of the season is where everyone finds out, and then that's when they become a legit couple. And I feel like that really makes the season really well-rounded, in that half of the season is them hiding their romance, and then the next half is them dealing with being a couple. And they're two characters who are so interesting together, and they're so... At this point, they're so clearly defined in their roles as people in relationships that seeing two of the friends get together without having this big will they won't they kind of thing really gives Friends this really strong backbone that isn't reliant on Ross and Rachel, which is something that I feel like was kind of missing from the series up until this point. And it just goes from there. And the season ends with the episode is actually the one in Vegas where Joey goes to Vegas and then the friends go to Vegas, and it actually ends with Ross and Rachel getting married.
Right.
So it's a really interesting season, and it's really strong. So what's your first episode from season 5?
Well, it's funny you didn't mention why I love this season so much. It's because it's where Ross becomes unhinged.
Right, yeah.
Right? And it's where the funny starts. And again, like when I want to give somebody my best evidence for why Ross is my favorite character and the funniest, if as far as I'm concerned, it's because of this season. And it starts, for me, the one where Ross moves in.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so what happens for him is that he's divorced again. He ends up losing his job or going on leave. They ask him to take a leave.
A sabbatical.
And a sabbatical. He also loses his apartment. So in the one where Ross moves in, he moves in with Chandler and Joey. And you get Ross doing that little quiet hands thing, right? And what's so interesting about this episode, and I don't know if it's just kind of of a result of good casting or just a bit of a luck, but that thing that Ross does with the hands, which I'm doing it right now for listeners, so that's good radio. It's likable, but it's so similar to something that Monica would do, right? It's a very Geller type of thing, but it's not super annoying as Monica would do. Does that make sense?
That actually makes a lot of sense, and that's a dynamic of that I never really considered. The whole fact that they're siblings, and I didn't consider that. That's a really good catch.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And so the episode as a whole, there's a little bit of Phoebe and there's a little bit of Monica, but it's the boy dynamic in that episode that I really like a lot. It's a chance for my favorite character to shine, and that's why I picked it.
Nice. And I really like the subplot involving Phoebe and the health inspector guy, who
yeah, right.
I love that dynamic because he's like, it's so fitting to Phoebe that she would be kind of turned on by this guy who has no real authority, acting like he has authority, and it's just really funny to me. But yeah, it is a very strong guy story, with the guys. Yeah. My first pick actually goes a couple episodes after that with the one with Ross's sandwich, which is so funny. Just for that one line, even. I mean, the whole episode's really good, but just the episode where, like, it's at a point in the season where Monica and Chandler are still hiding their romance, and it's where Joey is helping them hide it, and they make him do so much stuff to help them hide it. Like Phoebe finds the underwear in the couch, and Joey's like, "Oh, it's mine. I just keep my underwear off," and all that, and it just they drag Joey through the mud in the group, and it's so funny to me. But the whole breakdown of Ross, Ross losing his job and because of a sandwich is so funny to me, because the whole his breakdown, it's his mental breakdown. And then there's also worth mentioning is the other B story, or the C or B story with Phoebe and Rachel. They take a class, and like a literature class or something, and Rachel doesn't read any of the books and kind of just cheats in the class. Right. And I thought that was really funny. It's just a really strong episode on the three storylines that play throughout it.
Right. For conversation's sake, just to be a little more interesting, I'm going to pick something else, but that was mine because it's another chance for Ross to shine. When he does the my sandwich, the delivery of the line is hilarious, but the birds flying away in the third one is so classic to me.
It's so great.
I love that so much. So I'll talk about, I guess, an obvious episode, the one where everybody finds out.
Oh, yeah. I almost put that on there.
Yeah. What I love so much about the episode, by the way, this is also on the Best of Friends DVD, and it's one of the ones I used to quote, is just the play around, like you mentioned before, of the things that they asked Joey to do to keep this a secret. And just the buildup of the tension, how Chandler is trying to seduce Phoebe. The acting for both of them is great. I like to see odd pairings in the group, and you don't get a Chandler and Phoebe all that much.
You really don't.
And so that, and they do it well when they're together, and this is one of those instances where when they're together. The memorable line from that one is when they're asking Joey if they know. And they're like, Joey, do they know? No. Joey, they know you know. But they don't know that we know that they know that we know.
And you can't say anything. Couldn't even if I wanted to.
And
I love the scene because Joey is so confused throughout this entire episode, and he's so stressed out and everything. I love the line where he's like, why don't we just tell them? And then he breaks out into like the little song. He's like, we know, and then
we know.
And then Monica and Chandler look at him like, what the hell? And then he's like, oh no, wait, that wasn't you. It's just so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's right, and it's also the episode where Ross moves into Ugly Naked Guy, which we haven't talked about. Ugly Naked Guy. I thought that was
no, we haven't.
It was an interesting, kind of throwaway callback line throughout the first 5 seasons.
Yeah, definitely. He's funny. When Ross does that, when he's about to get the apartment and he does the squeal kick thing.
It's when Phoebe and Rachel are looking across out the window, and they see Monica and Chandler, and then they're trying to distract him. If I'm remembering correctly, the one that you're talking about, but it's like when he does that, like it's such a good bit of physical comedy on David Schwimmer's part. He twirls his arms around and he jumps, and he's so energetic about it. It's really funny, and just underscoring that is just the fact that they're trying to keep his attention away from it. So his genuine response juxtaposed with their attempt to keep his attention off of the windows just really hits a really fine comedic note for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I could really go for the rest of our episode talking about Ross moments, and one of the reasons I love 5 so much is because it's just so full of them.
Oh, absolutely.
The one with the cop where they're trying to get the couch up the stairs and
oh, classic.
Pivot. That's still 10 years later, or I guess now 15 years later, in my personal vernacular.
Yeah. Oh, and it's still in the cultural vernacular too. I see it as a meme on like online all the time.
Nice. Good.
Yeah. It's one of the classic episodes, or classic moments from the series.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny. I'll transition to mine if you don't mind.
Please.
Mine is a Ross episode. My next one, both of my episodes, wow, are Ross episodes. My next one is the one where Ross can't flirt.
Okay, yeah.
I love this so much because he is so, like, in the cold open alone where Chandler he's just being friendly to the delivery girl, and then Ross is like, I can't believe you would do that to Monica, just flirt with her and stuff. And he's like, I was just being nice and all that. And then it just comes to find out that Ross has a thing for her, and he can't flirt. There's the whole dynamic. It's somewhat of a bottle episode where they're waiting for Joey's big scene in a Law and Order episode with his grandmother there who can't speak English.
Yeah. And
it's every aspect of this episode is another one where they just fire on all cylinders. I'll say it again.
Totally.
And just one of my favorite lines of the entire series is when Ross is trying to flirt with the delivery girl, and then he says, I happen to like 8-year-old boys. Just to pay her a compliment about her hair, and referencing in a line of dialogue that she said earlier in the episode. And just, it's so funny to me that he would fumble that much. And there's a little bit of emotional resonance for me, or it resonates a little bit with me because I'm socially awkward. So, yeah.
Right.
Like, I have stories like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally.
So, yeah.
Funny.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I don't have any bad episodes. Do you still need to do one? Or did you do both of yours?
Let's see. No, Ross's sandwich. The one where Rachel smokes bothers me.
Really?
That is, if I had to pick a least favorite one, because it seems very contrived.
It really does, yeah.
That they would go out of their way, and that they can't tell that she's faking. It's one of those. It's one of those sitcom moments that I don't like.
Yeah, same here.
Just contrivances,
Yeah. And it's kind of gross to me, just like her just taking the cigarette from a stranger and smoking is just gross to me.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I would go with that for my least favorite of the season. Or for
there you go.
Yeah, the season. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, moving on to season 6.
Yes.
Wait, I can do this. I thought that it mattered what I said or where I said it. Then I realized the only thing that matters is that you make me happier than I ever thought I could be. And if you let me, I will spend the rest of my life trying to make you feel the same way.
Break it down for us.
All right, I gotta go through it. Hold on. All right, season 6, we kind of get we get the third time that Ross has to get a divorce, which is hilarious. That's kind of his big arc. Other than that, there's not much except that he dates one of his students,
right?
Which is not wrong, but it's frowned upon. No, it's wrong. There's that story. Rachel dates his girlfriend Elizabeth's father, played by Bruce Willis, which are kind of really minor arcs. The big thing about season 6 is, if you're a fan of Monica and Chandler, and Matt, you might speak to this a little bit. This is what this season is about.
Oh yeah,
it's kind of their up and down. We get to see Richard comes back into play a little bit, and in the end, they get engaged.
Right.
So there's that.
Yeah, and I agree. It's mostly season 6 is a showcase of the writing being so on point throughout the entire season. I mean, just so many of these episodes are like my favorite episode ever. And it's just such a strong run of episodes for me.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite?
Oh.
Or what are your two, I guess? I don't know why I keep saying do you have a favorite.
Right.
Me too.
Just and it's funny because I keep wanting to make changes to my pair that I picked because each one is so strong. But the first one I have is the one with the apothecary table. Another strong Ross moment in the episode too. But it's just so it comes at a point where Phoebe and Rachel are living together, and Rachel's buying a bunch of stuff from Pottery Barn, and Phoebe's against Pottery Barn, and they have that whole dynamic playing out. And Joey is dating his roommate, played by Elle Macpherson, and it's just such a good episode, all put together. And I love the scene where where Phoebe walks into Ross's place after they've discovered, like, oh my god, they have the same table, you need to cover it. And then Ross is so offended that Phoebe doesn't like Pottery Barn, so she says something like, oh, I love these sheets. And then Ross just says with such pure resentment, he says, like, oh yeah, you want to know where I got it? It's just, it's so funny to me. And then, yeah, and I love the dynamic between, the couple's dynamic between Chandler and Monica and Joey and Elle Macpherson. I don't remember her name, Janine, I think.
Yeah.
I love that because she doesn't like them, and it's so funny. I don't know how else to say it. It's just it's a funny, interesting piece of friction between the friends that isn't anything too serious, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But it's serious enough that it warrants a whole episode. And I love how it kind of comes down to Joey choosing his friends over his girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
And her critiques of Chandler and Monica are kind of apt because they can be kind of annoying in that respect. Being kind of blah and loud.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah. So yeah, the
Good.
apothecary table, that's one of my favorites.
Mine is the one on the last night.
Nice.
And that's the last night before Chandler and Monica move in together.
Yeah.
I gotta say, just off the top of my head, I can't remember what Ross does in this episode. He wants to stay home because he doesn't want to help pack.
That's right.
So Chandler is moving into Monica. Joey doesn't have enough to pay the bills, so Chandler is trying to help Joey win money by playing foosball, and of course that happens.
Mm-hmm.
And then by inventing the game Cups, which is hilarious.
Beginner's luck.
Beginner.
Yeah. I can't remember the line. Yeah.
And then across the hall, Phoebe and Monica and Rachel are talking about how Rachel doesn't want to move out because it's not fair and whatever. She's moving in with Phoebe, and it's cute because they all say nice things about each other for the resolution. But of course, my favy, Ross, doesn't want to help, so he lies and says that he has to watch Ben, and Ben isn't feeling well, right? So they have to stay there, and he makes a I don't know, essentially a Ben scarecrow.
Yeah, with a pumpkin with a hat
pumpkin
on
head
it.
to serve as Ben, and the pumpkin falls off, and the jig is up.
Oh yeah, I love I'm on my way.
Yeah, just gives up. Yeah,
yeah, and that's a really smart way of making the episode about, you know, the pairings of the friendships between Chandler and Joey and Monica and Rachel, and Phoebe's in the mix too with that, but it's her mediating a fight between Monica and Rachel, and it's really interesting to see the way that they're two of the longer standing relationship. Well, that's not true. Two strong friendships, given a spotlight, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
It is.
What's your other one?
My other one is the one with Joey's fridge.
Okay.
And I wanted so bad, and I won't say which one I wanted to pick or that I was going to pick, and I'm having regrets about not picking, but I hope that you picked the one that I'm thinking of. But the one with Joey's fridge is such a funny, silly situation. Just the fact that he has to eat everything in the fridge, it's perfect Joey logic. And it's funny to see him just in the cold open, even just trying to fix it by just, you know, not knowing what the hell he's doing. And it's also when Rachel lives with him, and we get kind of the beginnings of Ross and what's her name, the student,
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth, yeah. So we kind of we got a lot going on in this episode, but I just really like the Joey's fridge running joke throughout the episode is just, it hits every note for me. Just like him saying, like at the end he calls back to it with if Elizabeth has enough money to do this or whatever, she can totally pay me for the fridge she broke. It's funny. Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah,
that's a good one.
Yeah.
Now I'm kind of nervous. I don't know which one you want me to say, but the obvious one is the one with the proposal.
Oh, is that your pick?
That's my pick.
I should have picked that one too, but I was gonna go with the one with the routine. I love that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that one's pretty hilarious.
Yeah, that
I never learned the routine.
I never performed the routine. Except in my mind, but yeah. Just before we get to the proposal, like the routine, the apothecary table, and the joke are three of the series' strongest comedic episodes for me, and they're like back to back to back in the run of episodes, and I think that's a really choice indicator of how strong the writing was at this point in the Friends series. So the one with the proposal, go
right.
Hit me with
it.
The
one with the proposal is the obvious one. Just we get the reintroduction of Richard's character who is still in love with Monica, but Chandler has to kind of fight for Monica. And I just love the switch at the end where he's basically trying to, I should take a step back. I apologize. Chandler is ready to propose to Monica, and he wants to do it the right way, but when he's about to do it, Richard comes to the restaurant where he's about to propose, and so it's not right, so he's trying to find the right time to do it. Basically, it culminates in Monica ends up proposing to Chandler. And it's just, for me, aside from like the last episode, which I love, is the most emotional moment of the show.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it's performed effectively by both characters. I think that Matthew Perry gets a little like lip quivery, but overall, it's just effectively done and so super cute.
Yeah, it really is. Kind of throwing Richard into the mix is a little. It's fun for the resolution of the Monica has one hang up, and that's Richard, and it's kind of interesting to see that. It kind of felt a little like forced that they would bring him back into the picture as like a big, like, choosing between them. But I mean, Richard was a big factor in her storyline, so it's not surprising that she would struggle with that choice, especially with Chandler doing a classic Chandler thing and intentionally messing stuff up to throw her off the scent. And it's such a funny Chandler thing to do. And it makes sense that she would believe it.
Right. Yep, totally.
Yeah.
So that's my other one.
Yeah, makes me cry every time. Not ashamed to admit
too.
that. Yeah.
Me too.
Just like Matthew Perry's delivery when he says like, "You make me happier than I ever thought I could be." Like that just, I mean, I said it from memory and I got a little, emotional just now when I said it, but yeah. The really quickly, the precursor to that episode, I think it's where where Monica puts her name down, and it freaks it for a wedding that they're not having yet. But I love the end of the episode where Chandler has been saying like freaking out about Monica putting her name down for a venue for a wedding years in advance, and Chandler finding out, and the whole episode is about Monica trying to find him and like make sure she knows that she's not trying to say anything. But the end of it is such a great moment where Monica leaves and it's just Chandler standing in the apartment, and then Phoebe comes out of the room and she's like, she's like, "Did she buy it? Or did you see the place?" And then he's like, "Yeah, it's beautiful." And it's just like it's such a nice moment for me. I love it so much.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know if I did it justice, but yeah. Suffice it to say, in this season, there's no least favorite for me.
I'll say mine is the one that could have been.
Really?
Yeah, I think that's going unjustly into the well. Well, it's not really a flashback. I'll tell you what I don't like about it. I don't like Fat Monica.
Yeah, that's a little broad.
It's too broad. It's broad for a show that is not often all that broad.
That's true.
Just because she's fat is not funny, and it's funny because Courtney Cox is a super skinny bitch. But like putting a fat suit on somebody and watching them dance is not funny, and that bugs me a lot. That the show would go that low.
That's true.
So that not that the episode as a whole is pretty bad, but I also don't like Phoebe's arc in that episode. Because she's kind of an annoying but not fully unlikable character that becomes unlikable.
Right, and she becomes like each character is kind of in this alternate episode. They're all believable in the fact that each character would be like, oh yeah, Chandler would be like a struggling writer or whatever. Like they all have these arcs in this episode that make sense to the characters, and you can kind of sense that Phoebe's was like, oh well. What are we going to do with her? She could be like a Wall Street trader or something or whatever she is. And it just, it doesn't fit with the dynamic of it, which,
Right.
But I like it as a concept. I think that it took some guts for the show to, and maybe they needed it to be at the height of their popularity. But I think it took some guts for them to do this kind of alternate universe episode. That isn't a part of the canon per se.
Yeah.
But
yeah. It's not the worst of all time, but it's bothersome a bit.
Right. Yeah, I totally see your point.
So there's that.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, look, there's a piece that doesn't have floor on it.
Stick to your side.
Come on now.
All right, what do we have?
Well, season 7 is kind of more of 6. Again, there's not a really big story arc. Joey kind of gets a short shrift in that his show Mac and Cheese is canceled.
Mm-hmm.
Gets a job, but then it's canceled. So he kind of gets his job at Days of Our Life back. Phoebe's apartment is fixed from being burned down, so Rachel has to move in with Joey, which I guess is kind of a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
But the big thing is Monica and Chandler are kind of they're engaged now, and they're kind of planning wedding stuff.
Yeah.
At the end, of course, at the finale, one of the big things, and this was huge in high school. I remember like coming home and waiting to find out who the father was, knowing of course it was going to be Ross, but
right.
Just not sure. That Phoebe and Rachel find the positive pregnancy test in the bathroom at the wedding. Of course, it's Phoebe's, or it's Rachel's, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Standouts.
Again, this is another season where it's just it's chock full of so much good stuff. Yeah. But my first one is the one with the nap partners.
Okay.
Just because I think it's another sitcom kind of situation where, they're watching Die Hard. And which I love that as a recurring kind of thing where Joey like loves Die Hard. But I love that like he takes out the VHS and he's like they just finished watching Die Hard and he's like, he's like, I went to the video store and I got Die Hard 2, and then they're like, this is just Die Hard again. It's so funny. But anyway, Joey and Ross take a nap together and it's such a weird, sitcom thing, but it runs through the rest of the episode as they're dealing with like, that was the best nap I ever had. And they're trying to, like, Joey's trying to get the nap again or something. But it's such a funny, awkward moment and situation for the two to be in.
Yeah.
And then also throughout the episode, there's also the storyline of Phoebe and Rachel vying for the job of maid of honor, which also ties into the nap partners thing because Joey and Ross are in charge of picking with kind of a game, and I think that really plays to the show's strengths as the characters kind of they know how to manipulate each other. Like Phoebe saying like, I can't, like, doing the mock toast. Phoebe saying like, oh yeah, I can't believe Monica and Chandler are getting married, are married today. I remember talking about this with Rachel when we were naked in the shower. And it's just something. It's I don't know. The whole episode's really fun to me, and I've been picking a lot of fun standalone kind of episodes like this, and it's because I love the chemistry between the actors, and I love the dynamics that the writers put them in from having such strong bases for the characters. Yeah. So, Do you have any thoughts on the nap partners?
Yeah, this sounds funny. We used to act that one out just because I thought it would be funny to have a really good nap with a guy friend.
Nice.
So yeah, I like the interplay there.
Yeah,
the homoeroticism.
Right. Nice.
One of my standouts for the episode is the one with all the cheesecakes.
Oh, I love this episode.
Yeah, I really love the reintroduction of Hank Azaria's character.
Mm-hmm.
I just like the nerdiness, and I liked the drama that he brought to Phoebe's life. She really doesn't get a whole lot of like arc romance,
right?
And so when that happens for her, I always applaud that, and I also just love Hank Azaria.
Oh, me too.
Rachel and Chandler, though, they find the cheesecake like left out in front of their door. It's to their door, but it's to someone else.
Right.
And so they're kind of like obsessed with this cheesecake. It's such an obvious B plot, but and by obvious I mean like so unimportant.
Yeah.
B plot. But what really sells it is that Joey at the is it in the tag or is it before the credits?
I don't remember.
I think it's the tag of the episode.
Yeah.
But Joey walks up and they're like, so they've been reduced to just eating the cheesecake off the floor because they were fighting over it and it fell, and so they're eating it off the floor and they're disgusting, of course.
Right.
But Joey comes out and looks down at them and they're like, the jig is up, we're caught, right? But Joey's response is to pull out a fork that he just has. By the way. And then he goes, what are we eating?
Oh, that's such a great moment. That's such a great moment. And it is. It's so, I mean, it's funny that they don't. I love the Chandler and Rachel aspect of it because you don't get a lot of storylines with them either. And it's a fun dynamic for this episode. And like when they're trying to justify their actions in stealing these cheesecakes, because they end up stealing it from in front of Mrs. Katrakis' apartment. They're like, no, this isn't. We're not stealing or anything like that. This is just we're showing it to. We're shoving it in the face of this big corporation that sells these cheesecakes, and he reads the line, the name of the company. He's like, "Mama's Little Bakery."
Yeah,
it's so funny to me, and it's enough. There's enough comedy in it that I will look away from the fact that it's like, why don't they just buy the cheesecakes? Like, why don't they just order the cheesecakes themselves? I guess I can't justify it, but yeah, that moment with Joey at the end is so funny. And a big part of this episode is the friendship between Joey and Phoebe, that they have these like monthly meetings, like dinners, and they set a precedent where they can't cancel it for a relationship thing, or for like a man or a woman or whatever, and then that happens, and it's such a unique or a fun dynamic that has some good like emotion behind it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Is it my turn or like?
Yep.
Ready for mine?
You're up.
Of course, it's my turn because there's only 2 of us this time. I miss Tiny.
What? Am I not enough for you?
You.
I'm just kidding. I miss Tiny too.
I'll get in the box. But my pick is, it's kind of an obvious one, because it's such a big point of the series, and I don't think we've talked about any Christmas episodes, but it's the one with the holiday armadillo.
I'm the holiday armadillo.
It's like, I understand why Superman's here, but why is what is it? Why is a porcupine at someone's funeral? I can't remember what it was, but the Phoebe line at the end. But it's such and this kind of has a new resonance with me, or resonates with me a little bit now, because I mean I have nephews now, and like they just had their first, or not first Christmas because they're 3 and almost 2.
Yeah.
But like this was the first time, like Gavin is 3.5 years old, and this is the first time that he's being more vocal, and he's becoming like an actual person, I guess.
Yeah,
but he's constructing sentences and everything, and it's such an interesting, like, I love seeing that. And so this was the first time that I got to talk to him, like, oh, did Santa come? And he's like, yeah. And then it's like, what did Santa bring you? And he's like, oh, toys and dinosaurs and poopy. Someone at daycare keeps saying poopy, but anyway, so it resonates with me now with the holiday armadillo, with Ross trying to teach Ben his Jewish side.
Right.
Yeah, and then you have Phoebe doing the whole passive aggressive, trying to get Rachel back, I guess, from living with Joey.
Right.
And it's it's just really like the drum set and getting the drum set and the tarantula and stuff. It's just a fun episode.
Yeah. My next one is the one with Ross and Monica's cousin.
Oh, nice. I like this one.
Yeah, just because I'll keep this one short.
Okay.
Not because I'm trying to speed us up, but
right.
It's just a Ross episode for me. Ross is still reeling from his life not going the way it's planned.
Mm-hmm.
He planned it, and so he hasn't had sex in a long time, and his cousin is hot.
Oh my God, that scene, Jesus.
Yeah. Just when he thinks she's making passes at him, and so he kind of moves in for a kiss. It's borderline over the top.
It's, even if it is, I can't find any fault in it. That's one of my favorite scenes of the entire series.
Yeah, me too. It's a time where one of my favorite characters on one of my favorite shows gets a pass, despite it being a little inappropriate, because
right?
It's just too funny, and he's crazy at this point.
Oh yeah.
It's the straight man fully off the rails.
Right.
He starts to come back after this point, but this is fully off the rails.
I love the voiceover in the long, painfully awkward silence. Like I have a friend who, my friend Yuri. She might actually listen to this because she's a big Friends fan. But at one point she said,
Yuri.
Hi Yuri, come back to Indiana. They moved to Dayton. Anyway, Ohio, jerks. I want to visit again though. But anyway, so Yuri, like at one point she sent me, I think she posted on my Facebook or something like that, or tweeted at me, but it was just a YouTube link to the scene where Ross tries to kiss the cousin, and he has the painfully awkward silence where he's trying to think of something to say, and then he just says anything, and it turns out to be, I haven't had sex in a really long time. But just the awkward moment of it, she's like she sent me and it was like, I just watched this and all I thought of was you, because like I'm a really awkward guy. I was like, that is actually really true. That's pretty much me. That's how I would behave in that really awkward situation.
Yeah, that's okay though.
But yeah, Oh yeah, and this episode had the Joey with nudity thing but he's is it that he's circumcised?
He's circumcised, but it's a traditional Jewish character.
Right.
Yeah.
Which
I meant to talk about that one. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, that whole subplot it really doesn't work that well, because I mean, what's the end game? Like, they're going to make this little, like, they're going to construct something to make it look like he's not circumcised, but I mean, if he gets the job, he's going to film it. It's, it's not like, that's not the way it's presented isn't really
it's not feasible.
It's really not, but it's still pretty funny.
Yeah.
I
want to talk really quick about an episode I don't like.
Okay.
And I'm pretty staunch on this one. It's the one with the truth about London.
Okay.
As maybe it comes from being a comic book fan.
Okay.
I really, 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 really hate retroactive continuity.
Mm-hmm.
And there was something just so cute and perfect about the way we thought Monica and Chandler got together. They talk about, they never thought that best friends would fall in love. Mm-hmm. I liked the idea that she came to Chandler's room because Chandler was the guy. I don't like that this retcon
mm-hmm.
Where she was just looking for Joey but found Chandler and said whatever. It cheapens it a little, and you can't tell me it doesn't, because the idea was that she kind of maybe had feelings, and it ruins the whole cute interplay way back in season 4 or season 5 where she's sad and he kind of consoles her a little bit. It ruins that. Mm-hmm. For what? The sake of some laughs in an episode. I just really dislike that episode.
Yeah, this really felt like a plot line that the writers were really reaching for. Like they were like, okay, well, what can we do in the lead up to Monica and Chandler getting married? And it seems like something that, as a whole, it doesn't fit. And it's, I agree. I don't mind it. I think it's I think the comedy plays well enough, but I totally understand where you're coming from as far as the retconning and how it retroactively affects the charm and the strength of the beginning of their relationship.
Yeah.
And it cheapens it, as you said.
Yeah.
But the episode does have the B plot of Rachel teaching Ben the pranks, which is kind of fun, but
yeah. Fun, but not enough for me.
Yeah, the kid is the twins, whatever their names are, Cole and Dylan
Sprouse. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like douchebags now.
Yeah, they look like douchebags.
Yeah. But it's it would be a little better if with a better kid actor, but
Yeah.
Yeah. My pick for least favorite episode of the season is the one where Chandler doesn't like dogs. I don't know, it just, the idea of Chandler not liking dogs and them having to get rid of the dog, and it just seemed kind of just to me. But the B plot of them trying to name all 50 states is a lot of fun, though, so I can't really say that it's my least favorite. It's my least favorite conceptually.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
fair.
Yeah. Should we move on to season 8?
Yeah, sounds good.
You didn't dress up either.
Yes, I did. I'm Chandler.
Dude, what happened?
How is that me?
Okay.
I'm Chandler. When have I ever done that? When have I ever done that?
Tell it to us.
Alrighty. So, with any show that kind of runs for a long enough time, any sitcom, they, when the writers kind of run short of ideas, I guess, the answer is always introduce a baby. So, in season 8, Rachel is pregnant, and it comes to light that Ross is the father, and that's kind of the overarching plot of the season. But it has a some B plot, I guess, where Joey kind of falls in love with Rachel in this season. And it's kind of a slip. Like the season's solid. The season as a whole is good, but you can kind of see where they're kind of struggling just a little bit with some of the overarching plot lines and stuff. And I'm speaking really mainly to just Rachel and Joey and that whole thing. But the introduction of pregnant Rachel kind of injects some new comedic light into the series.
That's actually an asterisk I have here, because I agree that as a whole it's not smart, and in fact it does more damage to season 9 than anything.
Mm-hmm.
But season 8 is still pretty strong. It's a funny one for me.
Oh yeah.
And so you want me to go first here?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. One of my standouts is the one where Rachel tells Ross.
Nice.
And so this is after, so it's a cliffhanger, right? And we don't know exactly who it is.
Mm-hmm.
And the one before it is the one with the red sweater, which I loved. I almost added that one. And the title of episode 3 is the one where Rachel tells ...
Yeah.
So it's almost like they're trying to keep it a secret, which is funny.
Yeah, and this came at a time where, the internet is a thing. Like, it's big.
Yeah. Right.
So, yeah.
Right. Some funny B plots, but I love Rachel telling Ross that he's the father and his reaction.
Yeah.
Just with the wide eyes. It's incredibly subtle, but great physical comedy from Ross, from Schwim.
And I love how it, because he thinks he's about to get laid. I think, right? Yeah, and I love that kind of turn for him, because he's trying to be he's being all, I don't know how to characterize his behavior before she tells him that, but it's such a fun, I keep using this word, but it's a fun dynamic between the two, because they're not on the same page, and it's really funny to me.
Yeah, definitely. So that's mine for that.
Nice.
What about you?
Mine is the one with the Halloween party.
Okay.
Because it's another fun episode where it's in the cold open alone, it's just, I love that Joey is against like Halloween, like he's like, just dressing up like someone else and pretending you're someone else, and then Chandler just deadpans and is like, you're an actor. You also have Phoebe and her sister, and Phoebe falling in love with her sister's boyfriend, played by Sean Penn, who Ursula, Phoebe's sister, has lied to. It's kind of fun. Like, I don't really mind. Like, up until this point, like this late in the series, I didn't really care about, Phoebe and her twin, that whole kind of thing. Wasn't really ever that funny to me, but this is the episode where it was like, it kind of, I really liked it. But just seeing just the costumes and the jokes about the costumes, like Chandler being a big pink bunny and Joey going as Chandler and doing that lame impression that everyone loves but Chandler doesn't get, and having the big kind of macho thing between Chandler and Ross that doesn't work because neither one of them are that manly. It's a fun episode to me. I really like it for some of the comedy that gets tapped into. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one. I really liked Sean Penn in that episode. So yeah, I agree with you. This one actually is right after the one where Rachel tells. I've got two, so I guess I should have paired this one with the first one. It's the one with the videotape.
Okay.
And my asterisk that I put with the where pregnancy plays for a lot of laughs is I love the backpacking in Europe joke, which I actually said a bunch of times in high school just because I was a stupid idiot.
Nice.
And so just in a lot of sitcoms, they don't let guys get the win all that often. And so I just like that Ross was right about who came on to whom.
Me too.
And so it's just funny. Yeah. So and the other one I like, I'm sorry, I'm kind of getting a two for here. Is the one with the rumor, just because Brad Pitt.
That's my pick.
Brad Pitt. So you talk about it then.
Okay. The one with the rumor on the surface, it's kind of a gimme kind of thing, a gimmicky piece of stunt casting, having Brad Pitt play a character who hates Rachel because, as everyone knows at the time, Jennifer Aniston and Brad Pitt were married, and it's such a gimmicky piece of stunt casting, but it's played so well because Brad Pitt is so awesome, and they have they create in him such a rich character for him to play with Ross and to play against Rachel without Rachel being aware that he hates her, and the way the whole storyline just blows up and how it's the height of stunt casting in this series for me. I think it might be my favorite piece of casting, of guest casting, I guess. At least stunt guest stars, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah, and just the way that it all kind of comes out, the way that Brad Pitt says the line, it's talking about the the cleaning lady or something like that. He's like, "Oh, dude, she hooked up with the Tekakai Kek the night before he went back to Thailand." Just the way that he says it is just funny to me for some reason. But yeah. Oh, and you also have the storyline of Joey trying to eat a whole turkey in this episode.
Yes.
Which is a lot of fun.
Low beggar. Low beggar.
That's great. It's probably my favorite Thanksgiving episode that they ever did.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and say that.
Me too.
Yep. Yeah. Any standouts for least favorite?
No, I actually left a space here. I don't have one.
Interesting. I actually have two.
Okay.
The secret closet, the one with the secret closet.
Okay.
Is because it seems a little like okay, this long and they don't know where that door goes to. It's kind of a silly concept.
Yeah. It's almost like fans were asking or something.
Maybe, and yeah, possibly. And then you also have some Joey and Rachel stuff that I'm not too crazy about anyway.
Gotcha.
And then also my other one is the one with the cooking class, where Monica enrolls in or sits in on, I guess, an entry level cooking class or something like that, and
right.
After having a bad review, it's just it's playing to her vanity, I guess, or her. It's just, I think it just comes down to me just not really liking Monica.
Her narcissism.
Her narcissism. There you go. Yeah, and her need for approval, and it's not a good characterization for her. So yeah, should we move on to season 9?
Wait, Phoebe's still pretty hung up on that mic, huh? I wouldn't read too much into it. Still, a girl calls you by her ex-boyfriend's name. That's not a good thing, right?
David, let me stop you there, because I think I see where this is going. I'm not very good at giving advice. So if you want advice, go to Ross, Monica, or Joey, if the thing you want advice about is pizza toppings or a burning sensation when you pee.
Sorry, I just wish there was something I could do, Well, you know Phoebe.
Seriously? We're gonna do this?
I'm sorry. I just wish I could make her forget about Mike already, Why did Phoebe and Mike break up?
Because his penis was too big.
Okay, cool. Season 9, is it my turn to talk about it?
'Tis.
Okay.
Oh wait, no, I think it's mine.
Yeah, it is yours.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So season 9 deals with the aftermath of the birth of Ross and Rachel's baby.
Mm-hmm.
There's a return from Hank Azaria. The big thing here is dealing with the baby and jokes about the baby. Phoebe, however, has a love interest with Paul Rudd, which is awesome.
The seventh friend.
The seventh friend, that's right. And the other one is Chandler takes a job in Tulsa, so there's a lot that has to do with that. Right. The other big one is Joey falls in love with Rachel, or is that in the 8th season?
I think
has he already fallen in love with her?
I think it's the 8th season, and then I think.
Well, and then by season 9, toward the end of season 9. She realizes that she might be interested in him.
Yeah.
Which I just hate so much.
Me too.
So it's not a forgettable season. I don't want to go as far as saying it's forgettable, but it's bothersome.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, what do you think? Standout episodes?
Well, I have this one and it's. I remember liking the episode. I don't remember exactly why I like it so much, but to be frank, I don't know if I remember this episode because I liked it or if I remember it because I hate it.
Okay.
And I didn't have a chance to rewatch it, but it's the one with Phoebe's birthday dinner.
Okay.
And now that I'm thinking about it, I think it might be because I don't like it. Because everyone's so self-involved, they can't get there on time. Like Joey and Phoebe are the only ones there, and then Rachel and Ross show up, but it's a big point of insensitivity, and I like the episode because Phoebe calls them out on it because everyone's so wrapped up in their own thing that they can't make a dinner appointment for their friend's birthday, and
right.
But it comes with one of my favorite. Stupid lines between Ross and Rachel where they're locked out of the apartment with Emma inside, and so Ross does this whole
God, spiel. You know what? I think you're right. I think, what? Listen. A pigeon. No, wait, no. An eagle flew in, landed on the stove, and caught fire. The baby, seeing this, jumps across the apartment to the mighty bird's aid. The eagle, however, misconstrues this as an act of aggression and grabs the baby in its talon. Meanwhile, the faucet fills the apartment with water. Baby and bird, still ablaze, are locked in a death grip, swirling around the whirlpool that fills the apartment.
Boy, are you going to be sorry if that's true.
Whole scenario that he paints, and then it's punctuated by Rachel saying you're gonna look so bad if that's true or something like that. It's like the standout line of the episode for me. Yeah, and just the way that he performs it is so great. But that's my pick, I guess. Like you said, this season is kind of a rocky season for me.
Yeah. I would say the one with the pediatrician.
Nice.
Yeah, because it's the one where Ross goes to the pediatrician instead of the doctor, which seems like a stretch for me.
Yeah.
This is also Chandler going away to Tulsa. The highlight for me is Joey and Phoebe, who decide to arrange blind dates for one another.
Yes.
And so he forgets, and at the last minute, just calls out to a guy in the coffee shop because he lies to Phoebe and says that the guy's name is Mike, who
right.
she set him up with, and so he goes, Mike, and Paul Rudd says, yeah. And so when Paul Rudd plays the air piano,
mm-hmm.
you feel like he could have been a friend the whole time.
Absolutely.
I love him so much for that. By the way, my wife wanted me to add that that's her favorite episode.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You picked a good one. But yeah, I love the whole, because Paul Rudd plays Mike as such a genuine guy, and he's so good at playing that, and he plays it so well in that dinner scene, and he's trying to follow Joey's lies, and it's such a fun scene with them.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I'll go with my other one. The one with the memorial service. I think it's a fun episode where, Joey or Ross and Chandler are going through this whole thing where they're looking at the alumni page for their college, and they're saying all these lies about each other, and then they have a fake memorial service for Ross, who Chandler said died watching getting run over by a blimp or something like that. Just the most ridiculous thing. And then the B story is Joey struggling with Emma's attachment to his stuffed penguin Hugsy.
Right.
And it's a fun episode. And also Monica's trying to keep Phoebe from getting back with Mike, or from calling Mike. So it's a fun episode. It's, the comedy isn't it isn't like the highlight of comedy in the series or anything like that, but it's a fun episode with a lot of cool Chandler and Ross stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
My next one would be, surprisingly enough, the one with Christmas in Tulsa.
Oh, I felt like we should have made a remark about this one, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, what's so interesting, what's so weird about it is it's a clip show.
Yeah.
Right? And clip shows are, if you're not familiar with sitcoms, like you're some weirdo. By the way, if you're not familiar with what a sitcom is or a clip show is, and you're listening to a show called The Obsessive Viewer, first of all, welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Second of all, if you've made it this far in, stick around. But third of all, what the hell, man? Why start here? Anyway.
I love the way you handled that.
Yeah. That said, so Christmas in Tulsa is a clip show, but the frame story works very well.
Yeah, and that's
it's a little sappy, but he is remembering how much he misses being home, particularly during the holidays, and the episode culminates in him moving back home to New York, quitting his job.
Right.
Which is when we talk about, we mentioned early on in this episode how Chandler's job is a big part of his arc. This is kind of the top of that arc, or the end of that arc, I guess.
Yeah. And it's worth mentioning that, clip shows are, by definition, they're not very strong episodes. They're meant to give time off to, the creative minds of the show, I guess. It's filler.
Right.
Filler episodes. But what Friends did so well with their clip shows is that the frame story was always pertinent to the overall story of the season or of the series. And here is where it's played so well, because I agree with pretty much everything you said, basically.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, I really liked this one. It's probably the strongest clip show that they had.
Yeah. Agreed. So there's that.
Yeah.
Do you have another one?
That was actually the memorial service one was my last one. So.
Oh, okay.
Least favorite episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Barbados.
Oh, you don't like Barbados?
I don't like Barbados because Joey and Rachel kiss, and that does not sit well with me.
Yeah.
It's a real problem.
I can see that. I kind of like the I like the whole runaround for Phoebe getting engaged and Chandler giving horrible advice to Hank Azaria. I love this. I love the line where Hank Azaria is like, why did she and Mike break up? And Chandler just says like, oh, it's because his penis was too big. And it's just such, and like you can see Hank Azaria just freak out for a second, and it's, I don't know, I like that, but like you said, the Rachel and Joey thing I wasn't a fan of, but I have multiple least favorite episodes in this season.
Yeah, I remember seeing your lists.
Yeah. For starters, the one that I like the most of my least favorites is the one with Ross's inappropriate song.
Okay.
The comedy of it, of him singing "Baby Got Back" to a baby, is just not that funny to me. It's just
it is not.
It's so lame. But to shine a turd, at least like this is a window into what the show could have been. Like it could have been. Like I'm glad that the writers faltering were this late in the show, and B, that this could be like something that sticks out as a bad episode instead of, oh, this run of episodes is bad because of this reason.
Yeah.
So that there's something to be said for that. But also, you talked about not liking retconning. I don't really like the one with the mugging, where it turns out that, and I mean, I can respect it in that it gives some history to Ross and Phoebe, who don't have that many interactions or don't have that strong of a connection within the group dynamic. But it's also like, I don't know, it just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I like the comedy in it though. So there's that. But wow, there's a lot on here. The one with the sharks, and I'll put,
that's bad.
Yeah. I'll put the one with the sharks and the one with the boob job together as two of my least favorites because, who the hell would think that their husband is into shark porn? Like, that's just really stupid. It's stupid comedy, and it doesn't make any sense. And also, it's offensive to people who like shark porn.
That's what I've always said, really.
Really? I was just trying to make a joke about...
Of course. You can't let me piggyback your joke?
I didn't know. But no, I screwed all that up. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
No, but it's stupid. It's stupid, and it's disrespectful to not Sharkies, but it's disrespectful to Monica and Chandler as a couple, because it's just why. And also, as I said, I lumped in the boob job with it. I mean, it's kind of an awkward episode because they're borrowing money from Joey and they're hiding the fact about it. It just felt just really like, I'm a big supporter of Chandler and Monica and we'll talk about that here in a minute, but that just didn't feel right to me, those two episodes.
Yeah.
And then one last least favorite of the season is the one with the lottery. I just felt like that was just, again, another, example of an episode where the group kind of turns on each other. And it goes against the core, the title of the show. I mean, they're and it's mostly Monica is just, not like she's getting all these extra tickets, and she's like, when Phoebe has the bowl hanging off the balcony, and she's like, what's more important, friends or money? And Monica's like, money. And it's like, it all comes down to me not really liking Monica. Yeah.
Yeah. She's just the worst. She's just the worst.
Yeah. She really is.
She's just the worst.
Yep. Shall we go on to season 10?
I've got to see you. I've got to get off this plane.
Oh, my God.
Okay, excuse me.
Miss, please sit down.
No, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry, but I need to get off the plane, okay? I need to just tell someone that I love them.
Miss, I can't let you off the plane.
Let her off the plane!
I am afraid afraid you were going to have to take your seat.
Oh, please, miss, you don't understand.
Try to understand!
Oh, come on, miss, isn't there any way that you can just let me off the...
No! No! Oh, my God. Did she get off the plane? Did she get off the plane?
I got off the plane.
Go on to season 10. I think that's you.
All right. Well, it's the last season. Rachel and Joey are together for a spell, but it's about wrapping up the storylines of the series. It's about getting Ross and Rachel back together. It's about the fertility problems of Monica and Chandler kind of reaching the point where they get their babies, and it's the wedding of Phoebe and Mike. It's the resolution of the series, and it's a strong. It goes out strong. It stumbled a little bit in season 9, but the show finished off really well. It's worth mentioning that this comes at a time where they were like the highest paid actors on TV, and they all decided to come back for season 10. And it was a group effort. Obviously, it's something that played pretty well.
Yeah.
What's your first on the list?
Where Ross is fine. The one where Ross is fine, which
That's
is not.
too.
That's one of yours. Okay.
Yeah, that's my first one.
I don't like that it is a result of Joey and Rachel being together. I really hate that so much.
Me too.
Fortunately for the series, the way it ends kind of effectively retcons the whole mistake, in that they were kind of just trying something out, and that they can't get physical. It's just not possible for them.
Right.
I almost give it a pass.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It almost kind of is a solve for my fear. So there's that. But what's funny about the one where Ross is fine is, in the final season, before it gets serious with him and Rachel, we get a Ross being awkward moment, right? And the little step snap thing he does when the food is done is so quintessentially Ross that I love it.
And he plays.
What do you think?
I love it. I love it, if only for the scenes with drunk Ross making an ass of himself in front of his girlfriend and the mother of his child and one of his best friends. I just think that's just incredible acting from David Schwimmer. And it's just so much fun. Like him holding the tray and then them saying like, isn't that hot or whatever? And he just screams. It's really funny. Yeah.
Definitely.
For mine, since that was mine, I'll go ahead and just kind of throw in there the one with Ross's tan.
Okay.
Where he gets a spray tan. It's just him getting a spray tan and him messing up every time. And I remember laughing so hard at that because it's such a funny mistake that he keeps making, and it's not just him being stupid, it's them not being clear about their instructions for the spray tan, and it's really funny to me, and it's a dumb gag, but it works for me.
Yeah. It works for me too. I feel like I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, no, come on. But just over time, I've kind of allowed it, I guess.
Yeah. What's your next one?
My next one is the one where the stripper cries.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Okay. I don't really like seeing Danny DeVito be sexy, because he's really really gross.
He really is.
And I hope that's funny for some people. I think it is. My wife usually laughs at that.
Yeah.
And Chandler and Ross go to their college reunion, and you kind of get some flashbacks which are kind of fun, and right. Monica finds out that her first kiss was Ross, and Ross's first kiss with Rachel was Monica, and Monica's first kiss was Ross.
Yeah, what did I marry into?
Yeah, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But I feel like what's what I love about season 10, despite its shortcomings, is that they really, it's almost like they made a list of the strengths of each character and said, well, we have to have an episode where blank does this, right? We have to have an episode where Joey is really stupid at something, but because he has very specific talents, he's great at this. So when he's on the pyramid and he can't play, but then there's the round where it's all things for him is played so well.
Yeah, I love
it. I like when one of the clues is that it's something white, and I don't remember what it is. I don't remember what the actual thing is, but the guy says it's something white, and he goes, paper, clouds, a ghost.
It's paper, snow, a ghost.
Yeah, paper, snow, a ghost.
Yeah, it's so funny.
Yeah.
Oh, and then at the end of it, it was like I think it was like mayonnaise or something.
Things you put on a pizza. Keep going.
But I love that after the whole paper snow, a ghost, and he finds out what it is. He's like, "Why would a ghost be in my fridge?"
Yeah,
it's just it's a funny moment for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the reunion stuff is fun, also.
Right.
More Monica in a fat suit. That's kind of.
Yeah.
But yeah. My other favorite for season 10 is the one with Princess Consuela.
Okay, good.
Yeah. It's a strong episode. It's it's Phoebe growing into her marriage, I guess. It's Rachel has the doomed interview with the guy from somewhere, but her boss is right behind her, and that's just a really fun comedic thing. An appearance from Craig Robinson before he was famous.
Yep.
But yeah, I think I'm kind of burying the lead, because isn't this the episode where Joey? Yeah, Joey goes to the house. He goes to Chandler and Monica's house in wherever it is, and I love it because it's funny. I referenced my friend Yuri. My friends Yuri and John, they moved to Dayton, and like I just thought of this episode because I thought of like going to their house and like being like, oh yeah, I don't, you'd hear that. I guess this place is okay, just if you like the humming, or whatever he did. But I love this, and I love the inclusion of Dakota Fanning. I think it really brings the episode together for me.
Yeah, definitely. That's a funny one. And it's I love that it keeps plot going, and you still yet it's still funny.
Yeah.
Right? When at this point in the game things could get pretty serious, it's still pretty funny.
Oh yeah.
So there's that. I left out the last one because that's so obvious.
Right.
But that is one of my favorites, and it's still probably to this day my favorite finale ever.
Oh, nice.
Although Breaking Bad might rival it.
Really? Lost for me. I got to.
Okay. So bad episodes. You ready?
Yeah.
On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. The
one where Joey speaks French.
Toot the flute.
Oh God. It's so.
Go ahead, take it.
It's so broad, so stupid, so unrealistic, even through the lens of this sitcom world that the show has spent 10 years building. It's so ridiculous. In the only redeemable thing of that plotline is where, just in my memory of it, is just them saying that Joey is mentally challenged or something, and that's kind of, it's like it's a long walk to a punchline that is just kind of funny.
Right. Yeah. It's frustrating. And what was I going to say about it? Oh, it's the other side of the coin that I was talking about, right? Like they made a list of things that characters do that are funny. Oh, Joey's stupid.
Yeah.
And this one is just not well done. They don't give you but he's good at this other side.
Right. Yeah,
so it's just frustrating.
Yeah, it's too stupid, too flat, I guess.
Yep.
Toot to the fruit.
Toot the flute.
Ugh.
Me poo poo.
Yeah. So yeah, my other pick for it is the one with the cake.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the one where they have the birthday party, the 1-year birthday party for Emma, and Rachel and Ross are so dead set on their friends being at the birthday party, even though, and it's said in the episode, even though Emma's 1 year old, they can't move the party to a day where their friends are available. Like Chandler and Monica have reservations for a bed and breakfast in like Vermont. And it puts Ross and Rachel into such a negative light for me. And it's such, I don't know, it's so stupid to me. I mean, and granted, I don't have kids, and I understand, like, my sister, when my older nephew Gavin, when he turned 1 year old, like, she had a huge blowout birthday party for him and for like kids in the neighborhood that they lived in at the time to come, and just it was a huge party, and it was fun. It was interesting and all that, but this is just not the same, because it's not that thing. Like, I can understand how that situation would be a big deal for a parent, because, you know, it's a big event for their neighborhood and it's for their kid and all that. But this is just the group of friends and half of Emma's grandparents in an apartment, and they're still forcing them to stay there, even though they have plans. Joey has an opportunity for a job. Phoebe has an appointment for her job, and it's like, and it's so negative of Ross and Rachel. It's dumb. And who buys a novelty cake from a bakery in another state and brings it home without looking to see if it's right?
Yes, you're right. I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah, I rewatched like half of this episode today, and I was just like, that's so dumb. Like, and they could have fixed it by having like someone pick up the cake and like enter into the apartment carrying it and being like, oh, hey, I didn't check it. Oh, crap. And like, that would be the end. But no, Rachel's like, no, the cake's in the fridge. It's just bad. It's not a good episode for me. I don't like it.
Yeah. It's problematic.
Yep.
Well, let's not end it on a negative note.
Let's not. Where do we go from here? Because we've been talking for so long.
Yeah, we have. So we've kind of like hinted at it, but haven't really talked about kind of what we see as the most important, or maybe the better relationship in the show.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because it's a debate that you and I have actually had for a while.
Right.
About, you believe what, Monica and Chandler?
I believe that while Ross and Rachel are clearly the focal point of the series, and that their relationship and the end of their relationship and their not relationship, like that, it's such a huge focal point of the series, but I feel like the actual chemistry and the actual relationship trajectory of Monica and Chandler is just so much more well-rounded and just overall strong, that it overshadows my want for Ross and Rachel to get back together.
Gotcha.
They're kind of the linchpin couple for the series for me, because I think it stems from me connecting more on a personal level to the character of Chandler, and also just the way that we see we see their relationship grow and hit all of the major points of relationship. Like they get together, they it runs the gamut of their entire relationship. And that's something that we don't really get from Ross and Rachel, or we get in a kind of a weird way, because, they're together, they have the episode where they have sex, and then they break up, and then they have a kid together, and then they get married, and then by accident, and then they have a kid together, and it's just the weird kind of way. But Chandler and Monica is a very more linear, like, kind of mirror relationship, I guess. And it plays better to me because it's something that I root for more than Ross and Rachel, because I want Chandler and Monica to work out, because I think it comes down to me just liking Chandler more than Ross.
Gotcha. Okay. That's a really interesting way to put that, because for me it's because I dislike Monica so much that I almost think that, like, Chandler could do better. Which sounds mean to say, but whatever. Yeah. I feel like Chandler could do better. And I also hate the retcon of them. Their meetup is not all that special. The reason I love Ross and Rachel so much is that, and I think you and I have kind of argued that they're not really that great for each other all that much. But sometimes, how do I put this? It's like an opposites attract kind of deal sometimes, where that works best for a couple. And that he just loves her so much he can't help it. And there is no one that will ever compare to Rachel for him. Yeah. And so that's important. And I just love how in every season there's a little something that shows why they are perfect for each other. Huh. I don't know. Maybe I remember this being more of a source of contention than it really is, but whatever.
Yeah.
So.
Huh. I don't think I've ever articulated my love of Chandler and Monica that way. And you saying you not liking Monica, I'm the same way. I don't like Monica, but for some reason I feel like they fit together. And it's interesting that with Ross and Rachel, you're absolutely right. Like, if you look at the relationships that they each go through themselves, I mean, they don't have anyone that they're paired with throughout the series that's as strong for them as they are for each other. Whereas Chandler has Janice. The high point, there's that. And then Monica has Richard. So it's interesting that it's obvious that they kind of just fell into this whole storyline where Chandler and Monica got together. But I don't know. I just think that their personalities really play well together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and now that we're recording our discussion of it, it doesn't seem like a big point of contention for us.
No, it doesn't. I wish I could remember our conversation before, like what we said.
Yeah, I kind of wish we didn't spend the last 3 hours building up to this conversation.
I know. Oh, well.
Yeah, well. But to each their own. And I'll throw this out. I felt like the finale and the whole Ross running after Rachel in the finale was a little just like, okay, I know that they're going to get together. And I mean, I liked the ending. I loved that moment where he's listening to the messages and she's there. I loved that. But I felt like as a plot line for the final episode, I just thought that there was a little too much running toward a thing that I was expecting, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
Although, I mean, the scene where, like, I get goosebumps and I get a little teary-eyed when they find out they're at the wrong airport, and I love the dynamic between Ross and Phoebe in that. Yeah. I mean, if I'm gonna nitpick the finale, that's just nitpicking on my part, and it doesn't detract from it.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Should we talk about the legacy?
Yeah. Okay. So back to our initial question when I read that it was sharp dialogue and even sharper haircuts, which just seemed like diminutive, right? It seemed like it was just kind of making a reduction out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of bothered me. I like didn't agree with it. And I said it's so much more than that. I guess if the sharp haircuts had to do with the cultural impact back then, that makes a little sense. But I think it still has had cultural impact, and I don't know. So what do you think? What do you think of it?
Sharp dialogue and sharper haircuts?
Yeah, or do you think it's more than that? Or do you think my assessment of what that means is incorrect?
You know, I talked a big game while How I Met Your Mother was on the air.
Did you?
I did, yeah. Did you not notice that, Mike?
No, really.
No, I found Friends when I was in my teens, and I'm kind of.
Of course, I remember you.
Right. And just the arcs, the in your 20s kind of mentality didn't resonate that well with me as a teenager. And then when How I Met Your Mother came along, it's kind of a contemporary. It's kind of a the grandchild or the child of it's Friends' like kid, basically. It's
okay.
I don't know how else to explain it except for it takes the concept of Friends, the sitcom concept of Friends, which is something that should be pointed out too, that Friends created this sitcom dynamic of a bunch of attractive friends in a city dealing with relationships. I don't know if it really created it, but it made it so marketable and so big for the television industry, for the networks. I remember one year in particular, like I think this was in like 2007 maybe. Like every network had a Friends clone.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and it was just, and you know, all of them failed except for Happy Endings, which was a great series. But it's just with How I Met Your Mother, I talked such a big game about how like, it's better than Friends for me because the more heartfelt stuff, the relationship stuff, the stuff of people in their 20s living in dealing with relationship stuff resonated more with me because it was a contemporary telling of that Friends dynamic. I cultivated my TV and movie, or really just TV in this case, TV taste or sitcom taste from. And it was something that I could connect to on a more personal level because I could, find similarities within my own life. But having said that, going back and picking episodes for this, my God, I mean, like, okay, after How I Met Your Mother ended, we won't talk about the finale again. If you want to hear our thoughts on the finale, we have a bonus episode dedicated to that in the show notes. You'll find it. But having said that, after How I Met Your Mother ended, if I were to go through and pick and choose episodes, like there are certain spots where I would sit there and watch an episode, and everything. But Friends is so dense with damn near perfect episodes and perfect sitcom comedy, and it's such a watchable show that it's just got so much to it. And that's something that it kind of fell by the wayside for me when in my memory of Friends, in conjunction with my fandom of How I Met Your Mother. It's something that just kind of lost its way, and revisiting it while preparing for this retrospective really kind of leveled it out for me. So, in a really, really roundabout way to answer the question, that really got away from me. I think there's so much more to it than just sharp dialogue and sharper haircuts. There was a cultural impact that still resonates with TV viewing today. The sitcom genre still has things that it can thank Friends for, and Friends changed a lot of things about, or did a lot for the sitcom and the multicam sitcom, basically.
Right.
And it gave us the Rembrandts.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, there's so much to say about Friends. And I guess I wish I could remember the context of that article that I read, and if all of the blurbs were that short, like if they were just trying to deconstruct every show. In terms of legacy, that's kind of a tough thing to talk about because everything kind of TV is just evolutionary, right? One thing is based on another thing is based on another thing. Now, 10 years later, it's a little more difficult to look at a sitcom today and say, oh my gosh, that's so obviously Friends.
Right.
I mean, it happens. There's, Happy Endings made jokes about how, each character was a specific metaphor or representation of another character in Friends.
Right.
So that happens, of course, but they're not trying to make the next Friends anymore. They're trying to make the next Office. They're trying to make the next Modern Family. They're trying to make, I guess Modern Family is still the top of the game. They're trying to make the next Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Unfortunately,
they're not trying to make Friends anymore. So if you're saying like, if legacy has to do with what something that happened 10 to 20 years ago, how it's still having an effect today, it's hard to put a finger on exactly what. But would we have a show like Big Bang Theory if that wasn't influenced by something else that was perhaps influenced by Friends? Probably not. Would sitcoms still be as popular as they are today if the immense popularity of Friends hadn't kept it alive back then? Because American Idol kind of killed sitcoms for a little while.
Yeah.
until certain shows came along and kind of brought it back, and now sitcoms are almost as popular as they were in the 90s.
Yeah.
They'll never be as popular as the way they were in the 70s and 80s, but that's another story altogether. The other thing that I think Friends is still influencing is just kind of overarching things, relationships and themes that I can't remember really happened before Friends, especially for sitcoms. That Friends was absolutely a sitcom, absolutely situational and episodic, but in terms of the relationships, were very serialized, and as far as sitcoms are concerned, that didn't happen a whole lot pre-Friends, and now it happens all the time. You kind of see the will they or won't they kind of thing happening. So yeah, of course that had an effect. Finally, in terms of like the cultural vernacular, I love that you still hear people talking about Friends, which you kind of mentioned earlier.
Right.
The question is, will people born after Friends still talk about Friends? And it's a little too early to say because 10-year-olds don't talk about TV.
Right.
So I think this question will be interesting to come back to in another 5 years, in another 10 years. But 10 years later, yes, absolutely. It's way more than just sharp dialogue and sharper haircuts.
Right.
It's damn near perfect. You can give someone the box set, or you can tell someone to go watch it on Netflix because now they can, or soon they can. And there is it's bookmarked. There's a beginning and an end, and it's quite beautifully done. It is still probably my favorite show of all time.
Nice, very nice.
Yeah.
Well said. Yeah, and really briefly, I'll just talk really quickly about the whole serialized relationship will they won't they thing. I agree that it was Friends was a very well, I would have to do more research on it, but I think that was a really good indicator of the 90s and even 80s a little bit, 80s and 90s sitcoms, because like Cheers and Wings, which I still maintain is such a beautiful sitcom that no one really watched because I think it lived in the shadow of Cheers. But But it was kind of an interesting staple of 90s sitcoms, and it was something that Friends did spectacularly well, even though it kind of, and I think the writers have even admitted that that they got Ross and Rachel together a little too early, and they kind of had to work that out. But I still think it was still strong. Like, that didn't weaken the series in the long run.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that all we have to talk about?
I think we might have exhausted. I mean, there's so much more. We didn't talk about like running gags. We didn't talk about tags that are our favorites.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about as many guest stars as we could. There's so much to say, and that the show just, I don't know. For me, the show just continues to delight and surprise, and I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. And now we are 20 years from the premiere, from the pilot airing. The pilot aired 20 years ago, and the finale aired 10 years ago, and it's going on Netflix. I don't know how long Netflix has their contract to stream Friends, but I feel like it's something that a whole new generation of TV viewers will be able to consume and hopefully appreciate. I'm hoping that it's something that the young ones can appreciate.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Awesome. All right. Well, holy crap! This is a really long episode. This is going to be interesting.
It is. This might be our longest.
I really think so too. Yeah. Well, if you're still listening, thank you for joining us for our Friends retrospective, and contact us and let us know what you think of Friends and all the stuff we talked about here. I'm gonna throw it to the pre-recorded outros, but before I do that, is there anything else you want to say, Mike?
I don't think so.
All right, cool. Yeah, well, again, thanks for listening, and
we got off the plane. Thanks for listening to our longest episode ever.
Yes, thank you guys.
See you guys in the new year.
Yes. Have a happy and safe New Year, guys. We'll be back here next week probably with our 2014 in review episode. So, yeah, thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening, guys. Well, we should move on because this is a long episode so far.
It really is.
By the way, we're at 2 hours.
Yeah. Wow. I don't know how much recording time that is with all the cuts, but it's like just under 2 hours.
Okay. I mean, we'll end up at 2 hours.
Oh, yeah. It'll be a long one.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah, screw it. It's a bonus episode.
Okay.
Yeah. If you're good with it. Do you feel like we should wrap up soon or anything?
No. Time-wise, no.
Okay.
Oh, wait, I got to work tomorrow. Oh, no, wait, no, I don't!
Me neither!
Woo!
One of the benefits to working Saturdays.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Okay.
I love that. And it introduces kind of, hang on, I have to burp. Oh, God, that felt good. Anyway,
As always, thank you for listening to the Obsessive Viewer podcast. Thank you to Loudlike for providing our awesome opening theme music. Their first EP is called Mistakes We Must Make and features our theme song and a clips of events. Please head over to iTunes and download their album. While you're there, make sure to give us a rate and a review. It helps us climb the podcast charts, and we really appreciate feedback. Speaking of feedback, please like our Facebook page at facebook.com/theobsessiveviewer and follow each of us on Twitter. You can find me, Tiny, at ObsessiveTiny, Matt is at ObsessiveViewer, and Mike is at I am Mike White. You can also check out the blog at obsessiveviewer.com, where we, but mostly Matt, review movies, TV shows, and comment on the industry as a whole. While you're web surfing, please head over to our sister site, obsessivebooknerd.com, where we review books and comment on the ever-evolving world of reading. If you're philosophically curious, please go explore my side project, the Secular Perspective Podcast, which is a show that explores the concept of faith, religion, and existence from a secular perspective. If you have any thoughts on the podcast or suggestions for future episodes, you can also email us individually at Matt, Tiny, or Mike at obsessiveviewer.com, or email the podcast directly at podcast@obsessiveviewer.com. Thanks for joining us today, and please come back.